All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's Tuesday the 15th, and this is going to be presentations on the Warren Valley Golf Course Management Agreement. We're going to go ahead and start with the mayor. Mayor, if you don't mind, if you could give us a general synopsis as far as why we are here today, what's involved, the general process, maybe about 3 minutes on that, and then we'll have presentations. And for those in the audience and on Zoom, we have scheduled a meeting to select the vendor that we will be going with this coming Thursday at 5:30 p.m. right here at the Riverside Auditorium, and it'll also be on Zoom. So thank you, Madam Clerk and team, for helping put that together. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair. So about a little over 3 weeks ago, the council approved to...
Councilman. Go ahead again.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, the council body actually agreed to to send it out for bid for somebody to actually operate the golf course and also the banquet hall. So we put the bids out for 2 weeks, and there was one potential concessionaire decided, it was a short notice, so we extended it for 3 weeks. So we did open it for another week. So with that, we had a few interested parties. One of the parties, they're actually charging us money to operate the golf course, and obviously that kind of disqualified them from that because we're not looking to pay a company to operate the golf course for us, and we wanted somebody to take over the operation and pay us a certain amount, and also because that was part of the bid net agreement, is they have to have a capital investment into the property, and also pay a fee, rental or concession, or both. So one of the what? So we had there was a few entities that came up. There's only one entity that came, and they were operating in both the golf course and the banquet hall. And as you can see on here, it's the Isa brothers. They were interested in operating the golf course and also the banquet. So they put, I don't know if you want me to say the amount here. I mean, since it's public.
You're good.
So the Isa brothers, they came up with a total investment, $3,400,000 in capital investment, and per month is $5,000 and 10% of yearly concession to the city.
Mayor, I just want to add on there, 10% of the yearly concession profits.
Yes.
So 10% of the profits.
Profit, correct. So that's for the golf course and the banquet operations. There was another entity, with Mackey, Mr. Mackey. He put in $2 million in capital investments, $72,000 in flat annual rent, and there was no concession on that one. So there was also another entity, the Davy Tree Expert Company. We're paying them roughly $790,000 for the first year, and let's see, 4 or 5 years later, it'd be $855,000. We have to pay them to operate the golf course for us. So with that, we pretty much said, that's not part of the agreement that we put on BidNet. So we excluded the Davy Tree Expert Company. So again, I don't want to get into the specifics because, I don't want to insult somebody's from one of the bidders, but there was something that was done, after the bidding closed. So that came up with 2 potential bidders. It was the Isa brothers and Mr. Mackey. So they were the top 2 bidders.
Okay. You all set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So at this particular point, what we're going to be doing, the general process is going to be, and this is why we put it out on BidNet, and this is what the council wanted, is we said to the mayor and administration as a body, we decided that not only do we want the paperwork part, but we want to actually meet the potential operators that the administration is bringing forward to be taken into consideration. And we said that we would do a study session like we are here so they could come and present. One of the presenters, I see Mr. Isa's here, will be here to present. I do want to make an announcement. I received a call from Mr. Ahmed Mackey earlier today, a little bit earlier. And at this particular point, after giving it a lot of thought with other projects that he's working on in the city, as a lot of you do know that he runs Elite Sports, the former Canfield Ice Arena, and other projects that he works on. And he just decided after giving it a lot of thought that he's not going to be able to give this thing 1,000%. And with that being the case, he just thought it would not be in the best interest of the city, for him to move forward with his bid. So he asked me to take his bid off the table, and he will not be one of the bidders tonight.
Did he say he couldn't give 1,000%? Is that a quote from him?
100%.
He had called me
100%?
as well, and
Yeah.
He said, a quote,
And
he
I believe
could
he's
not
on
give.
Zoom, too.
Yeah, I spoke with him.
I
and he
spoke
just-
with him too, he never mentioned anything about not giving his all.
No. He's got other projects that he
Yeah.
is running, and he, at this particular point, adding on an additional project, he would not be able to give it 1,000%.
What else did he tell you?
Well, we had a conversation about this, and he just decided to pull his bid off, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And this is with his permission. He asked me to do this.
I know, I just spoke with him too, but there was a lot of other issues that he was concerned about. I'm sure he voiced them to you too, you guys, if you talked to him.
Not to me.
Yeah. One of them was he wasn't aware that there would be a presentation tonight. No one contacted him personally. That was, I don't know if he told you guys that or not. But did he tell you that, Mo?
yeah, I was told that he didn't know there was a presentation, correct.
Yeah. I mean, not to say anything bad about these other ones, but Mike Mackey has been in the community for so long. He's helped everyone from little kids to senior citizens out.
That is correct.
And
Mike is
he
correct.
would give his right arm to make sure this facility operated at a profit, for himself and the city. It's a shame. It's a damn shame that this had to happen to such a great man that's in the city.
Okay. Appreciate that. But like I mentioned, he called me and asked me to take his bid off the table, so I have to honor that. I had a conversation with him. I asked him to continue moving forward. We'd like to look at our options, but he decided at this particular point, it's not in the best interest of the city, and he's got a lot of other projects he's dealing with, and he just felt that this would be the best thing moving forward. And he wished, nothing but the best to the city. Also, I want to state that we will be meeting as a council body this coming Thursday at 5:30 PM to select one of the bidders. And then from there, we will go ahead and move forward with the city providing the contracts, et cetera, to be presented to us as a council body to give final approval for signatures by the mayor and his administration. Before we go ahead and begin, anybody have any questions? Okay.
Council Chair, I mean, a 2-day notice on a meeting, this important? I mean, this is the first I heard of this. When was that publicized?
Okay, so the only thing that needs to be in order to be publicized is 24 hours.
24 hours?
I spoke with the clerk's office last week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Wednesday. And at that particular point, I told the clerk's office to go ahead and pencil it in for Thursday, provided the mayor's administration, and of course, we select as a council body, provided the mayor's administration, the clerk's office, and River Oaks is able to do this, we're going to be voting on this on Thursday,
What time?
5:30 PM.
Thank you.
Is that going to be okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got plans Thursday that I just made yesterday. Wish I would have known that there's a possibility that we might be having a meeting.
Okay.
My wife's just as upset.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, just keep in mind, Thursday's meeting, just as an FYI to everybody, will not be a long one. At that particular point, you're just going to be voting. We'll be doing whatever discussions or questions that you have to any vendor today. It should be a relatively short one. Okay.
Gary
Next,
Miyake has his hand up.
I'm sorry?
Gary Miyake has his hand up.
Gary Miyake, is that him? No, I see somebody else.
No, it's him.
It's him.
Gary.
Is that him?
I asked, yes, I just saw that, thank
I'm
you.
No, he's up in the
No.
left-hand corner.
He's there, go ahead.
Isn't he up?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, okay. It's a different.
Yeah, I don't know why this
Okay.
is, oh, okay. All right.
You're so old.
It was his mouse.
All right, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? I'm
Yes.
up in St. Ignace right now, and my connectivity hasn't been very good. But I guess the question becomes, you're looking to select someone tentatively with the idea that I'll negotiate a contract with
Correct.
them.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Not that I'm going to have a contract done in 48 hours.
No, absolutely. I've had this conversation with the mayor, and we discussed it, and then, again, it would be subject to a final contract. So once we select somebody, it'll be conditional upon final contract approval between our corporation counselor and whoever we have selected as a body.
Okay, because we have a lot to potentially negotiate,
Correct.
just to let you know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and do our presentations. So the ones that were brought forward for us to have presented to at this particular point, at one point, it's going to be Ahmed Mackey, who's off the table at this point. So at this particular point, is there any representatives from the Isa brothers to come up and speak? Give us a general idea as far as what your plans are, what your vision for this is in the future, what you're planning on doing, et cetera, et cetera. And at that particular point, any council members that may have questions, we'll go ahead and present them to you. And of course, you may have questions possibly from the audience that you may want to answer. So Isa, come on up.
Bless you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wissam Isa, representing Isa Brothers LLC. How's everybody doing this evening?
We're doing great.
Sorry, my voice is not all there. I lost my brother-in-law this last night, and we've been dealing with some funeral arrangements.
Sorry,
Very-
my
Deepest condolences.
No problem. Thank you, guys. What would you like to know?
Well, give us a general outline. Obviously, some members in the audience may not know your general vision for this, and that's what I'd like you, if you don't mind, to do. And then from there, we'll go into any potential questions.
Okay, as experienced, I'm a businessman. I've been in the city for over 20 years. I own multiple businesses in the city, from a banquet hall, hookah lounge, used car sales, a couple of restaurants, car wash nearby. I'm in the car wash oil change business as well. And I've been living in the city since 1999. I've raised 4 beautiful kids here. They go to Crestwood School District. Also, my whole family lives in the city as well. Regarding the Warren Valley Golf Course, I've had a vision for that place for years, from years ago, even when Wayne County owned it itself. And the place, I mean, we all know it's been run down. It needs a lot of work, but it could be the gem of Dearborn Heights. It could be the best golf course probably in Michigan. I know a lot of golfers have stepped away from there, stopped golfing there for multiple reasons, which we all know what they are. But we're planning to come in to renovate the whole building, all the banquet part, the lower floor, the structure, maybe add on to the building if possible, put all new equipment in there. And the golf course, I've been talking to multiple golf course management companies. And one of the companies that I have a letter in between them and I, but to follow, obviously, if it works out, and to walk the golf course and see before they make a decision. But they're very, very interested. And it's called Hilltop Golf.
What is it called?
Hilltop. They manage the golf course for the city of Plymouth as well. That's one of them. And they own multiple golf courses themselves, too. So obviously, I have to hire the best. I want to do the best to make that the best golf course out there. Like I said, I want to make it the gem of Dearborn Heights. I want everybody to talk about this place, banquet-wise, beauty-wise, structural-wise. Like I said, we're going to dump a lot of money into that place, and we think we can operate it correctly. We've never failed, and I hope not to fail, financially and business-wise. And we have the experience to manage, operate restaurants, banquets, sports bars, whatever it takes. I think we can get it done. All my businesses are diversified. I got, like I said, I'm in the oil change business, car wash business, restaurant business, hookah lounge business, auto service business, used car sales.
You sound
You
like
name it, I got it. Dumpster business, you name it, I got
you
it.
sound like a conglomerate, Mr. Issa.
I got my hands in almost everything, and I operate almost everything myself, so
Mr.
my brothers
Issa.
and I.
Just to follow up on what you're talking about, Hilltop Golf, what's going to happen if you can't find someone to manage the golf course? It's got to be done, because that right there is the whole thing in a nutshell. We can't lose the golf course, and, you need to find someone that knows how to run a golf course, knows how to run the leagues, know how to do scrambles, knows how to do promotions. That's big key. And getting the grass cutting equipment, getting the pumps, getting the golf carts, that's a big expense. What's your vision on, and in case Hilltop doesn't want to?
Well, I've been talking to 3 different companies, and all 3 of them are very interested, and we discussed everything from A to Z. The place does need a lot of work. It's a big risk, and this is a risk I'm willing on taking on from the city, because this city, I don't think they're going to be capable of doing it. And I don't think anybody's got the power to do it. I'll be honest with you, I'm not putting anybody down, but I think we can get it done. The only problem they might be having, and we might be having too, is getting equipment, which is, they discussed that with me.
That's
equipment-
backordered because of COVID, and that's due to, I think anybody that's going to operate the golf courses is going to struggle with equipment.
Anybody, I don't care if they got 50 golf courses. If they ain't got it, it's hard to get equipment these days. Even restaurant equipment, even for the banquet, it's hard. I mean, I've been doing my due diligence. I've been making phone calls. To all my resources that I've been dealing with in the past, and it's going to be a little struggle, but I think we can get it. We can make it happen.
Now, you're not, and I know a lot of your places that you talked about, and you're not going to think about turning our banquet facility into something like Royalty Nights, are you, where people are smoking hookah in there? Because let's face it, when I want to rent the hall out for a graduation party or a wedding, I don't want to go in, as good as hookah bars can be, I don't want to go in there and have to smell hookah and have these things go on till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Not really. I already have that going on. I already have one place that's enough. I don't need another place like that. But obviously, I mean, if you want to open up a sports bar and for
And that's
golfers,
great.
yeah, cigars might be possible for these golfers.
Cigar lounge? Yeah.
Cigar lounge. I mean, what's the difference between a hookah or a cigar lounge? For golfers, I'm talking. I don't want to make it a hookah lounge nightclub, no.
But we
That's
got to
not-
watch out for the liquor license issues.
Exactly. There's
smoking and
restrictions from the
everything.
state and stuff, that's why I'm saying. I mean, that's not my plan. My plan is to open up a beautiful banquet hall, nice sports lounge downstairs to accommodate for the golfers, strictly for the golfers, to open it 7 days a week as a place for, golfers and the city of Dearborn Heights residents to come, eat, golf, watch the sports on big screen TVs. I mean, I have a vision for that place, for everybody to be comfortable, to come in, and it's a relaxing place, good atmosphere, outdoor, indoor, summertime, for outdoor events, for the
Swimming
banquet
pools.
part.
Council Chair?
Wait, Councilman Baydoun's first. Okay, we all set on your end?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, before we start, I want to talk about the elephant in the room here, because there's been some calls on this, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware. There's no discussions anywhere in the city as far as selling the golf course or building homes on the golf course. So for full disclosures, talk about the elephant in the room. Nothing is in discussion, not now or in the foreseeable future, about building homes on it or selling the golf course. So let's take that off the table. Now, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Issa, who I know you live around the block from my parents' house. I just got a couple of questions, so just bear
No
with me. My
problem.
first
Go
and
ahead.
foremost question is, a resident called in last week about potentially allowing some of the residents or the students who drop off their children at Crestwood still be able to use that parking lot. Will that still be accessible for the school district?
Of course it will.
100%. I'm going to ask
1000%.
that. I'm going to ask that across the board to anybody that's going to operate either the banquet or the
1000%.
golf course. So, and then if there's a way, maybe you or whoever gets this bid will work around to kind of allow safety, security reasons, a circle approach? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. Would you be willing to accommodate with Crestwood so that they can use that during school hours?
Of course, my kids go to that school, and I would love that to be an
Thank
option.
you. My next question to you is, will you ever shrink the golf course and potentially build homes on the other half that you build on, that you shrink on?
Never.
Okay, and then my last thing is,
Okay, I have to preface it with this. Keep in mind, the 3.4 million that he will be paying would be for building it out, not building homes.
yeah,
So it is still our golf course, and I'm sorry I have to interrupt you, but I have to, I don't want people to start taking this thing in a whole different, side streets. Nothing can be built on it without our permission, A. No plans of building homes on it, B. And C, the plans in this particular case is somewhat similar to what happened with Elite Sports, where he's taken over an operation that we own. He fixes it up, makes it look nice and beautiful, makes it look much more marketable. Let's call it the way it is. The way it looks right now is not the most marketable.
terrible.
That's why it is, I'm going to keep my comments to myself, but I'll just say it's definitely not the level I'm comfortable with. But with that being the case, he's just doing the build-out, and he's going to be running it. He'll be the management company for us, running the A to Z's on it. I'm personally glad that you're getting a separate company to manage the golf operations, because with due respect, I know that's not your forte. Go ahead.
My next question is, there has been a lot of existing bookings, and in the great spirit that we believe, will somebody like Councilman Tom Wenzel be honored to continue on the same pricing and what he once booked while we were with, ABC Golf before?
If I win this bid, I will be.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt again.
If it's you,
One second. But I don't want an example to be used of a councilman, because then that could give the wrong impression. There's
Okay.
no favoritism here. So let's use John Doe.
Council Chair, so
Councilman John Doe.
one of the things that we discussed before, obviously, we don't know, based on this.
if it's open or not.
No, 1 second. Before anything said about honoring anything, because we had issues in the past, with the previous concessionaire. We don't want to commit as a city, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Right now, we have to pick a concessionaire. We have to figure out how long it's going to take to get this place open.
I know, I'm
they
just-
can open, but 1 second. I don't want to say commit that, okay, if somebody's booking something, like say in early April, obviously right now, we're not going to get anything in early April.
Mayor, with respect, I don't know if you heard the question. If you're open and say somebody's booked in July,
But right now, there's no bookings per last.
We don't, right
concessionaire.
now, okay, we don't know what's being booked, so we have to actually, it's up to the concessionaire. But they did agree that if there's anything in the city, they're willing to look at it to revisit. Because we have few calls from few outings that they want to do. And these are the ones that whoever is the concessionaire, we're going to give those to them, and they can deal with the concessionaire.
great.
So basically, what the mayor is referencing is, we are not stipulating the exact price they charge. That'd be ultimately up to the concessionaire.
Yeah, I know that.
But with that being the case, obviously, to run a profitable business, A, they got to make a profit, but B, it's got to be, accessible to a lot of residents, where the
Correct.
price is low enough where they'll be going for it. I do know from a lot of his businesses, his pricing is very fair, so in general.
And then my last question is, I know that there's a little patio kind of set up in the back of the golf course. I've always envisioned some type of country club of Dearborn, maybe potentially coming to Dearborn Heights. Would you ever forsake seeing a swimming pool where residents can come in there?
Listen, anything that's possible, to be honest with you. I want to get in there, give it all, give it up my all, invest the money. We'll see how business goes. If it goes and there's a need for it, I have no problem doing it. I would love to do that, to be honest with you, for the community.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Tom Wenzel?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, ever since I've been on city council and the city bought this golf course, I think myself and every council member asked to see a clause in the contract that stated that there would be no development on this golf course, and I haven't seen that at all, if that's in the contract at all. I mean, I
Council
believe.
Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Again, as the council chair mentioned, nothing can be done obviously, you can't even have a concessionaire operate the course without the council approval. Before anything is done to the golf course, it has to come in front of council.
Well, sure, I understand that, but, this, God forbid this ever happen, 4 council members getting paid off to vote yes on development. And it should be in the contract, or a contract. We need it in the contract to be in there forever.
Okay.
And then, okay,
city
that's,
owns
I'm
it,
just
though.
making this point now, okay? So that's something we can talk about in the future. I want to see that in a contract. I don't want to say, oh, well, 4 council members, have to vote on yes or no. But,
But no matter what, again, no matter what, no matter who is selected, they cannot
oh, I
go
know
build
that. I know
on the
that, but there was
property.
you brought up the part, the homes. You're the one that brought it
No,
up.
no, no, I just want to talk about the elephant in the
Yeah,
room because
yeah.
there's some residents that thought it was being
Well,
built
I just
on.
want to let the residents know that there is nothing in the contract.
nothing in the horizon
that-
whatsoever.
That states that. Now, having banquet experience is big thumbs up. I mean, that's the cool thing right there. And do you vision this place, you say a sports bar? And I'm really advocating family activities. Is this going to be a family-friendly
Of course, that's the whole
Not
purpose
just
of it.
a cigar
No,
smoking
I'm talking not a
sports bar.
not like a sports bar where it's like a nightclub. No, I'm talking sports bar, burgers, fried foods, good menu foods for the golfers. Obviously, you want to attract the golfers to come into this place, right? So I want to make it where they're coming in, they golf, they come chill after, they have some drinks, they eat, they watch the games, they watch TV. I want to make it that kind of a modern golf course, modern look. So I want it to be where they're not just going to golf and get in their car and leave. I want them to come inside and spend money. I want them to have a good time.
I'd like to see a place where people come to eat and not be golfers.
Yeah, of course. It's that
something
7
like
days a
that.
week
You
operation,
get more
of
people in
course.
there, they see the facilities, they tend to they book.
The venues, of course. Yeah, of course.
And now, I see in this proposal for the golf course, it just says maintain the golf course and update when needed. I'd like to see some kind of more of a breakdown. I mean, I know that the restrooms on the golf course, I don't think they're even open. I'm not sure, that's where they have porta-johns out there. And the golf course itself is the drainage issue. And that's the main issue in this golf course is, for one thing, opening it and getting it run. And the next thing is the flooding, And the flooding is key. Last year, we had like 62 days where we couldn't golf because of flooding. So that's a big issue there. So I'd like to see something more detailed about what you want to do with the golf course itself, because you can have a really good sports bar, but if you have a crappy golf course, we got to make it, it's not a bad golf course. I mean, it's a little, run down a little bit, but it's to state something that everyone knows, or not, maybe not everyone, but this year is a turning point for this golf course, and ironically, it happens to be the 100th anniversary of this golf course. And I'm on a little committee to set up activities for the 100th year anniversary. And now we're all on hold on that situation, but we still want to go ahead with that for sure. So the golf course itself was designed by Donald Ross, a world-famous golf course designer. It's one of the only 36-hole golf courses, public golf courses in the state of Michigan. This is a gem. And just to concentrate on the banquet facilities is one thing, but I think we should really concentrate a lot on the golf course itself. And now, when I was talking to Mike Mackey, he said that, Davies' proposal would be that the city would pay them, right? Where that. And he said that in his original offer, he was going to hire Davy, be partners, and he would pay them. Have you talked to Davy at all in that aspect?
No, I haven't talked to Davey, and I've talked, like I said, a couple of big management companies that manage golf course that I went and visited myself and seen the job they've done. And this is prior to this, to the Wayne County, that I was looking at a golf course myself to buy 4 or 5 years ago. And I've met with them. And I mean, I want it to look beautiful, obviously. I want to attract the leagues back to the city. I want these guys back at Warren Valley. I want Warren Valley to be what it was years ago. That's my goal. It's not just about the banquet. Obviously, if I just wanted to bid, I would have just bid the banquet and not mess with the golf course. It means a lot to me to control it all, obviously. And if I hire these guys to manage it for me, I'm still responsible. I want to make sure it's done right, obviously. I'm not just going to give it to somebody and focus on the banquet and ignore the golf course. That's not my whole intention, no. If that was the case, like I said, I would have just But on the banquet, forget the golf course, let you guys deal with it.
Well, you know, the Davy Company, they maintain the golf courses, you know, Dearborn Hills and the TPC. And they've got the equipment. They've got the equipment, and they got access to everything. And I was talking to one of the gentlemen from Davy, and they said, you know, if a piece of equipment's needed at any one of the 3 golf courses, it could be there in 10 minutes, instead of waiting a month or something to have something repaired.
But then
And they
again,
are
you gotta
big-
pay them
they're a big machine
$800,000.
company, and I'm sure they have access to all kinds of maintenance facilities, I mean, to repair anything, because you know what they do. Now, ideally, you know, that we wouldn't hold this to you at all, but say if, this is March, 15th, if by the end of the month, you were awarded the contract, and it was written up and it was signed, ideally, when would you like to have open?
I'd love to open it tomorrow if it's possible.
No, I mean realistically.
Realistically, it depends. We only had an hour to go in there and look at this building. We didn't even walk the golf course, I'll be honest with you. From my understanding, there's no equipment in this golf course. We don't know about the irrigation system, the sprinkler system, even the fertilizing of this turf and lawn. I think they're using the wrong stuff according to the management company that I was talking to. So there's a lot of things that you and I don't know. We don't know. So I can't say something and be held to it. Realistically, if everything is good, we can get in there right away and operate.
Well, you know, it operated last year, but not 100% efficiency, right?
Exactly.
So did you ever get some thought to, you know, open it up as is and then work on things as you go?
That's a possibility, of course, but like.
Because we don't want to
mean,
lose these leagues. I mean,
No, I don't wanna
they'll
do
go
that either.
someplace else.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the mayor and the administration have said, you know, a couple different times, and I think the mayor even mentioned it in the council meeting, and I'll allow him to speak on his behalf, but he did mention his goal is by mid to late April for this thing to be up and running. Whoever we select, and that's one of the reasons why the mayor pushed to have a selection this week, so that right away the negotiations can start on the contract, and he could have somebody up and running, hopefully, in the next 30 days or so. But most importantly, so that you, him, her, whoever it is that we select, can start taking commitments right away and keep this thing operating at top level. I want to say this to the audience and to the residents. It is top priority for the mayor. It is a top priority for all the council members to get this thing up and running successfully.
Exactly.
I, for one, I'll state it here publicly, I was totally disappointed in the way it was run, and I hope whoever we select is going to have a Class A operation, because the Dearborn Heights residents deserve that, and a gem like that deserves to be run at a Class A level. And best case scenario, in my opinion, it was a Class D level, and I'm just stating it publicly. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you want to say a little bit about your vision?
I know we had a discussion with all interested parties. You know, one of the things, there's a lot of things that we're not talking about. So the biggest thing is the roof. You know, the roof is leaking. So there's water coming inside the banquet hall, and there's also both sides, the canopies, they're leaking as well. So we had a company come and look at the roof and to see how much it's going to cost. But again, it's going to be up to, that's one of the things we got to look at. Instead of the city paying for the roof, we want to see whoever the concessionaire, because obviously they have some capital investments factored into the proposal. So that's huge, you know, the roof repair or roof replacement. So with that, you need a company to come in. The first thing is you got to repair the roof. You can't have anything in that facility without fixing the roof, because you definitely don't want to have a banquet, people with umbrellas inside the banquet hall. So
Showers, baby showers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally.
Just supply the soap.
Yeah, and also we discussed, so the banquet has obviously 2 kitchens, one upstairs, one downstairs. We proposed that whoever comes in, and I know that they propose on replacing the carpet with tiles, but that's going to be time consuming. So we asked if they could just come in and clean the carpet and just make it a conditional that they can just walk in, do the minor repairs, shampoo the carpet, fix the roof, and just renovate the kitchen, one of the kitchens, so they can operate maybe upstairs, you know, to get it started. And, you know, obviously the bathrooms, one of them has to be redone. I mean, you know, you guys have seen it. That place is run down. It's been neglected probably more than 15, 20 years. Nothing's been done to it. So what we need to do is we need to get somebody to come in and just, and that's one of the things that, again, we talked about it, you know, with my chief of staff and the attorney, to have somebody come in and just do the bare minimum in the beginning to get it up and running. Then the following year, once we get, you know, we have the down season for the golf, to go ahead and finish whatever floor that they haven't finished. And also do whatever they need to do with tiles and whatever else.
Sure. So is there, Mr. Issa, is there any plans on two things I want to discuss with you? One of them is the asphalt on the outside. It looks like a war zone out there for cars, not only as far as cars driving through it, but most importantly, even visually, it is definitely not appealing, including to residents that live, you know, right across from there. Is there any plans as far as re-asphalting or fixing that, at the very minimal, filling all these holes in and then re-sealing it, because it looks and then re-striping it. It looks absolutely terrible. And the second question I had for you, if you don't mind, and then right after that, Councilman Muscat had a question for you, is the entrance to the facility. So just like in residential homes, when people are looking at houses, you know, the first 7-8 seconds are the most important. So you could look, for example, at a home, and it may take you 20 minutes to look at a home, but that first 7-8 seconds is more important than any of the other 20 minutes. And so when you pull up to the facility, you're going through, you know, it's like a...
It's like off-roading.
Yeah, I feel like I'm tobogganing or something. And then when you get to it, you got honestly a beautiful building. The building is pretty nice, but it needs some cosmetics. It needs freshening up. It still looks like 1961. It needs just new, fresh look to it.
He's got that in here.
I know, but I just want to make sure. What's the plans as far as the asphalt is concerned? What's the plans as far as the exterior is
So
concerned?
as of the asphalt parking lot issue, you know that's a very expensive project there if you want to
Correct.
rip it all out and do it. As of right now, my main concern is the inside, to get you guys up and running so we can try to accommodate all the contracts the city had, because that's my goal is to accommodate for those contracts you guys have in place, to try to get these people in and do their golfing or their banquet ceremonies or whatever they have parties scheduled. That's my main concern, is to come in, clean it up, do what I gotta do, get the roof done. The most important thing, to operate it. Once we operate, then whenever we have downtime, we're gonna start, you know, floor at a time, section at a time to get it going. It's not gonna happen overnight, we all know that. To renovate a bathroom at your house takes months now. And even getting material is hard. I mean, you guys all know that, I'm pretty sure you
Right.
do. Parking lot, of course, I'll bring a company, Al's Paving Company that I deal with, they're very reputable. Come to patch, seal it, stripe it to make it look beautiful. Curb appeal is very important to me. Signage is very important to me. I mean, obviously, I want you, when you're entering into the golf course, the greenery, the flowers, I want it to look beautiful. The
Lights.
facade on the, you know, lighting, the signage. I mean, you guys know my businesses, I'm pretty sure most of you guys do.
They're hawked.
I spend a
can-
lot of
I
money
can
on my
attest.
image. I care about my image a
I
lot.
can attest, every business I've been to that you've owned has been run, honestly, top-notch.
Thank you.
No blight, no nothing.
Thank you. And I do it by the book. I don't cut corners. I like everything perfect. I'm very anal myself. Physically, I work in all my businesses as much as I can. So I'm there. I talk to my customers. I greet. I meet. I clean. I sweep. People know how I manage and how I run. Whoever knows me out of the councils. Like I said, we're not here to come. I'm not here to come just to. I'm not here to. It's not about the money. I'm coming here to invest money. I want to make this the gem of Dearborn Heights. I want to make it where everybody's talking about it. I want to make leagues fight to come in here and golf at our golf course. You know, I want to work hand in hand with the city to make this right. Obviously, I live in the city. My kids are going in the city. We ain't going nowhere. So I want to be a part of this, you know, with you guys, you know, backing us up and helping us and whatever it takes to do this together. You know, I can't talk anymore. I mean, obviously, if I get a chance on this, I think I'll make you guys very proud, and the residents.
Thank you.
Councilman, go ahead.
You know, I just want to make everyone aware, we ran into trouble with this golf course. Councilman Tom Wenzel asked for financials for every bit of the time he's been on council for 3.5 years. And we never received them. Then we find out that, you know, we weren't getting any money at all. And I want it, I don't know, I don't think it has to go in a contract, but I need to have something at least once a month of what we're receiving, the monthly rent that we're supposed to get. The monthly rent that we're supposed to get here is $5,000 a month, and that's $60,000 a year. I think we were supposed to get 100 from the last person, I believe. So, you know, whoever, you know, if this goes through, that's a discounted price. But I'd like to see a little bit more if we can get it. Not only that, if we get it, maybe we can turn around and take that rent money and put back into the course itself. You know, instead of taking it and using it somewhere else, I'd like a vision of taking that money and putting it back in the golf course, okay? For whatever.
That's a good idea.
But that's my reasoning.
Councilman, there's
But I-
also,
But again, that's going to be negotiating with the contracts,
Of course.
and I don't want to get involved with the contract because it's
there's a
not my.
concession, Councilman, if you see that, that's in addition to the rent.
But
So it's gonna be
again,
more than-
that's,
yeah.
but again, that's not up to me to negotiate any contract. That's up for the administration. It's just my thoughts.
Of course.
But oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And, you know, I just want to make that clear that I'm hoping that we get something, whoever wins this bid has a golf partner with them that knows what the hell they're doing. We got to have it. We can't shut this golf course down because we have multiple leagues waiting. Matter of fact, I got a guy that used to be the golf pro at Warren Valley right now, asking me, call me when all this is settled. I need to know, do we schedule golf leagues? You know, I can let people know because he knows them all, and they're waiting on him.
course.
So I need to know as soon as possible myself.
Okay. I do want to add two things. Yes, the rent is $5,000, but it will also include, I just want to disclose to the residents, I know you know, Councilman, but it's in addition to that, there'll be 10% of the profits that will be given, $3.4 million in build-outs. So in other words.
Yeah, that's an investment.
Yeah, and he's got a major investment of $3.4 million that will go into improving the property. With due respect to the last concessionaire, that was not there. So we were paid, I think, what was it, $6,000, it's supposed to be a month or something like that? But there was no improvements, or at least minimal improvements. So maybe a little paint
No
job here, a little
improvement.
carpet there.
was none.
$8,300.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
$8,300.
Yeah, but it was $8,000, $8,300 a month, but if
We never
anything,
got
there
it.
was maybe a little painting and a little cleaning of the carpeting. We got somebody here, all these potential bids are with major improvements to the property, which would give us a major gain, obviously, at that particular point, because we got, and then you're asking for 10 years minimum, correct?
Yeah, I need to get at least a 10-year plus options, obviously. You know, I mean, it's going to take time to try to even recover some of that money. So
Right.
it's going to need some, I need a long-term lease with options, obviously.
$3 million, so I want to get 10 years?
Right.
Yeah, 10
Okay.
years is not
I
enough.
hope you get it back in two.
Councilwoman Nancy Breyer, and then you're next.
To piggyback on what Ray was saying, should you win the bid, could we possibly raise that monthly amount after 6 months or a year or sometime?
I was thinking you're going to give me the first 6 months or to a year for free to get going.
Well, if you'll bump it later, maybe we could work that out.
We'll work things out. Everything can be negotiated when we sit down and negotiate the contracts. We'll talk about all the
That's
details
what
in person.
negotiations are all about.
Okay.
Yep. And then whatever final negotiations will come in front of council, of
Right.
course. Councilman?
Thank you, Council Churchill. Mr. Issa, I know you mentioned the project will be in phases, and it does state this in the contract, but, and I'm sorry, in the bid. But I know stuff's going to be delayed, so any idea how long it's going to take, a year, 2 years, to be fully 100%?
If I do win this bid, like I said, we're going to work with my team and I ASAP to try to get going. At least to do the major repairs like the roof, the mold issues in the banquet hall that most of you guys don't probably know about, the windows that are leaking, the structural part of it, to make it safe and clean environment for people to get in. And probably try to get one of the kitchens up and running at least to accommodate. You know, like you said, maybe wash the carpet for now, get going. Now, when we see we have a window of no bookings, we won't book nothing personally, us I'm talking the building wise. You know, we'll accommodate what we have going on, and then when there's some downtime, we'll start right away construction, you know, on one level. That works, we'll work on the next level after, you know what I'm saying? So in
So
phases.
to do whatever you have in mind, do you think it's going to take more than 2 years?
I don't think more than 2 years, but I don't know, I can't, no, who knows? Like they're saying right now, to get golf carts, it might take a year and a half to get golf carts. I don't know. So I don't know how true things are.
And then second one, I know it says here, construction will pick up in the winter month where the complex is used less, and the city of Dearborn Heights may book venues at cost. Is that only through construction for the city, or is it throughout the?
No, I mean, like I said, I'm looking at it as we're hand to hand, we're one. I'm not looking at it as me. It's the city of Dearborn Heights. Anybody, with the administration of City Heights, Dearborn Heights, any venue that wants to happen there, as long as it's open, obviously, if it's an event for the city, I have no problem doing it at cost. Whatever cost is, I have no problem. I'm not trying to benefit or make money off the city.
So what he's referencing there, Councilman, like, for example, at one point, a couple years back, as I recall, our recreation department did an event, for example, for seniors, recognizing different seniors that have worked or volunteered for the city for, 10 years and 20 years and 30 years. And it was done at another venue. What Mr. Issa is mentioning here, in that particular case, we would do it at one of our own venues, which in this case would be Warren Valley, and he'll be able to give it to us at cost. When we have a city event. But obviously, we don't have a party animal for a mayor, so we don't have a party every 3 days or nothing. It'll probably be.
I saw him
every couple,
partying not
3,
too
4
long
months.
ago.
Just the way it was worded here, as if like just only during construction.
Right. So to clarify for the councilman, he's trying to make sure it is not just during construction, it's throughout the contract.
Throughout the term.
Okay. Do you have another question,
No,
Councilman?
well said, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Wenzel?
Okay, a couple things. And this might be for the mayor, but is this going to fall under Parks and Recreation? If so, I mean, are there specific grants out there for golf courses where we could fix the parking lot, things of that nature? Director Lawrence Sells out here. I mean, do you have any? Is there anything like that? I mean, are Parks and Rec going to be involved in this?
Talking to me?
No, I'm sorry, the Parks and Rec director over here. I mean, Mr. Mayor, maybe you can answer that, or?
Yeah, I know that Kim did the master plan, so I'm not sure if the golf course, she probably have to answer that. I don't know if the golf course
It
was.
comes under parks, I believe.
No, I mean for grants, to get grants for the, go ahead again.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? The golf course would qualify for land and water grants, and also the other grants that the DNR has.
So that would help out the concessionaire if we get grants for it.
I'm not sure if the building would be, but I do know for a fact improvements on the golf course would be. We can
anything.
definitely apply for them, and we can see what happens, as long as it's under Parks and Recreation.
Anything it would help.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Dime
know.
is a dime.
Okay.
Part of the grants, I'm sorry, they did, so there's some grants available, obviously with COVID. I was part of a meeting that they're discussing trying to give more grants to do outdoors events, but I'm not sure, which type. But, obviously we can look at that, we can see if we can get grants.
Speaking of that, we got to find out if the last person that was there received any of that funding. I mean, that was a lot of money that a lot of these businesses were getting, to see if he received some of that money, because I think it belongs to Warren Valley and not to him.
But it wouldn't be.
Well, we have to pursue that legally.
Yeah, because that's something that, if it's money that we could use
So
here.
let's keep the legalese,
Yeah.
let's keep the
But I'm just
legalese
saying,
out,
it's
Councilman.
food for thought.
No, I understand, but there's some legal issues that are being dealt with, so let's leave these
Council
out
Chair?
for right now.
I have-
So
I
I
have a
just
couple
want to point
more.
out something.
No, you got to do. Now, the Parks and Rec Department has functions at the golf course annually. Is there going to be any charge to the city for having our events in the parking lot and using the restroom facilities for that?
Repeat that one more time,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The Parks and Recreation Department, Dearborn Heights Parks and Recreation have activities they had throughout the summer last year, very successful, very popular. And can they continue to have free access to the facilities, the parking lot, and the restroom facilities?
I mean, I have no problem with it, as long as, if it's not affecting the day-to-day business, I have no problem. I mean, I don't have a problem with them
So
using it.
just to give you a little reference point, what the councilman is referencing, for example, like and that one had to be canceled because of the weather. But for example, there was a fire and ice show festival, I don't know what it's called, but it was a fire and ice event, if you want to call it. And then another time she had drones and what have you. She's, our director has been doing a great job putting on a lot of activities throughout the city for seniors, for kids, for et cetera. And basically what the councilman is asking is just making sure that you'll at least work with the recreation department to continue to do events, not to mention that it will be good promotion for you and your future business if it works out for you. You are open to working with the recreation department's way,
Of
Dan?
course, I'd like to work,
I don't-
I'd like to work with them hand in hand with that.
I don't want them to work with us, I want them to give us a permission to do it. We don't want to negotiate anything, I want it like in the contract.
Well, you can't stop the golf outings and golfing and.
We did it all
banquets.
summer long.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
it was-
there was
it was-
nobody there.
Yeah, it was
but
run down.
It was
There
done,
was
no,
nobody there.
no. The parking lot facilitated one half for golf parking and the other half, and then, and all the events were handled basically after hours from golfing. Yeah.
And we basically, I worked with Eric and I picked real busy times, basically, like the concerts were on Thursday nights, the fire and ice is outdoors midwinter, they're basically closed, things like that. So, I mean, we worked together really well, so whoever we end up getting, I'm sure will do that. But I also talked with the mayor about possibly putting our dates in the contract if that was possible, and depending on how long the contract's going to be, we can give the dates for the next 3 years or something like that if that's
I think it's a good idea.
conducive.
Good idea, Kim. Good idea.
One other thing is, I personally know some of the workers that work at the golf course, or did work for last, some of them have been there for decades. Will they have the opportunity to get their jobs back if they apply, or, I mean, is that something we could say we want to do for sure? Because these people have nothing to do with all the problems that happened. They were just pawns in this game. Because I know there's 3 or 4 that counted on that income. They don't have any income coming this summer at all.
Like I said, if I do win this bid, I have no problem. We're always looking for good help, especially experienced help. Obviously, if I win it under my administration, there's going to be a lot of different, way I run things. And if they qualify, I have no problem giving them all their jobs back,
Yeah,
of
'cause
course.
they're experienced there on that golf course.
Of course.
Now, when it's referred to a 10% of the profit, is that taken into consideration possibly after paying back your major initial investment of millions of dollars?
Not really, but like I said, once we sit down, if there's a contract in place, we'll sit down, we'll negotiate all the terms. There's a lot of legal things right now we got to discuss.
If I may, yeah. So all we are doing this week is picking who the concessionaire is. That is just phase 2. Phase 1's today, actually, phase 1 was the bids. Phase 2 is today, phase 3 is Thursday, and then phase 4 is the final contract that's negotiated with all the specific details that will be agreed upon between our corporation counselor, whoever we end up selecting, and then coming back to
Yeah,
us for
yeah.
final approval.
I'm
So
aware of
for
that.
fairness, I don't want to negotiate the contract right here, right now.
Well,
obviously.
I'm aware of that, but I won't be any part of the contract negotiations, and I want to get my points across
Okay.
publicly. Okay. Thank you. And, well, I think, it looks, you got some nice credentials,
Thank you,
obviously,
thank you.
here, and whoever gets picked, let's move forward with this, and God bless everybody.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Any other questions from councilmen and women?
We saw my last question to you is, and if that's okay,
Go ahead.
we're going to leave it here. The name Warren Valley Golf Course has been around for many years. Would you be consider actually changing, maybe giving it a new name, a new identity? I think, I'm usually not.
We own.
No, it stays
City.
Warren Valley Golf Course.
Yeah, I'd be against it.
The city owns the golf.
I know, I'm just asking, guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's a question. I mean, you asked a question, Everybody, let the man answer.
So
I mean,
you're
he may
saying,
wanna change
so
the
we
name.
have to keep the name? Or do
See
we-
that? Look at that.
I'm kind of confused because.
Had I not asked that
obviously, if
question,
I get
he'd be changing the name.
If I got a golf company, for example, Hilltop, I'm pretty sure they want to promote their name because their business.
I agree.
and- But I don't mind keeping like the Warren Valley name up there.
Warren Valley Hilltop.
Do- Yeah, and then just changing
Well, yeah,
something
I
in
mean,
it.
You could add something to
Warren
it.
Yeah.
Valley Hilltop, Warren Valley
And obviously,
Brothers.
my management company is going to be totally different than what it is, doing business as, Issa Brothers, for example, LLC.
It can
I'm
be
just
called
saying-
Warren Valley Brothers.
Yeah, whatever.
It can be called Warren Valley
That's to be,
Volvo.
we haven't really got to that point
Well,
yet.
at that particular point, whatever you bring forward to the council, if it's in the best interest of the city and the residents and the golf course, we'll at least take into
And the
consideration.
only reason why I bring that up, and I want all my colleagues to understand this, and whomever the next bidder is, but I want you guys to understand it. And I know we love Warren Valley, right? We're all invested in it as a city. But it's also got a bad reputation. It
does.
It's got a bad reputation. I golf on Warren Valley Golf Course. I'm going to tell you, I rolled my ankle. When somebody tells me to go back and golf at Warren Valley Golf Course, I'm going to say, man, I hate that place. I rolled my ankle. But somebody tells me,
Hey, don't publicize that.
let's go golf at Warren Valley
What are you
Hilltop.
publicizing that for?
You know?
Council Chair?
Yes.
One of the biggest issues that we've had, I've gotten a lot of calls from actually people that use the golf course is, as you mentioned earlier, the aesthetics outside. So one of the things we discussed with a few of the potential concessionaires is about the signage in the front. So they have to put, obviously, an LED sign in the front just to pretty much promote the course and also the banquet, whatever the banquet they're going to name it. So this is something that is appealing to the city for the lighting, and people can see that, there's 7 days a week, sports bar, restaurant, a banquet hall, and also the golf course. It's going to have an LED sign, and I think it was mentioned in here as well, and I did ask that question, that they will put a sign up, an LED sign.
I think
in
he
the
knows
front.
how to promote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know, Mayor, with myself speaking with you, your vision for this is, of course, golfing, that's the number one thing. But during non-golfing times or dates, you also want that place to be always operational, always having people in and out and creating good things for our city residents.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, from my experience, even with the previous management company, I called 5 different times, several times, 5 different events that I wanted to schedule over there, 2 as a mayor, and I could not get anybody to call me back.
And you wanted to do your
And-
fundraiser there,
and-
too.
And yeah, I want to do my fundraising over there,
Yeah.
and I called several times, and nobody answered. So I get what the residents and the people that use the course, I see their concern because I've had the same problem. And also, I like the golf course. I mean, I do golf there, and there's few outings that I'm going to be part of this year as well. So I do want it to be operating as soon
Come
as
on,
possible.
are you a good golfer?
Not a good golfer,
I
but
know
I
you
can
were.
golf.
I knew he wasn't.
But my point is, I need to get this course up and running, and as mentioned before, I mean, more than anybody that I've been pushing, try to get it open as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
And I mean, unfortunately, we know what happened in the past. I don't want to get into the past, but moving forward, I want to get this course up and running as soon as possible. And a lot of residents has also mentioned that they want to have a place to eat. They want to have a world-class, restaurant. They can come in and they can have a burger, they
Business
want a
meeting.
steak,
Yes.
something like that. And I tell you, I had a few people that actually visited the course, few days, probably, a couple weeks before they shut down. And I don't want to repeat what they told me, but I was pretty disgusted with what the message that was relayed to me from their experience, just a few weeks before. And again, that reflects on us as a city, because the city owns the course. Sure. So with that, I took an account for everything that was relayed to me, and that's one of the things that's why we put the proposal the way we did.
Thank you. Well, one of the
Mr. Mayor,
best
I have one
quotes I heard
question for
from you
Mr. Mayor.
today, and I love it, is you want the golf leagues to fight to get in there. I like that. I like that vision. Go ahead, Councilman.
You referred to LED sign, now, just to make it clear, is that one of them signs that show pictures, and, a big yellow board that you can...
Digital picture.
Digital LED signs,
Yeah.
that's not just LED lights?
No, LED
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
shows what the name of the business,
Yeah, you
the
can put-
course,
you-
and,
Right, you
their
can-
hours, and, maybe what they're offering, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Council
all right.
Chair,
Okay.
Mr. Miyake's hand is up. and-
All right, so we're going to go ahead, at this particular point, we're going to go with our corporation counselor, Gary Miyake. Then I'm going to go to comments from the audience, and then I'm going to go to comments from whoever's on Zoom. So go ahead, Gary.
Okay, first of all, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because every one of you is frozen, but I can hear audio perfectly. So that's why I've turned off video. Okay. I want to address a few fundamental things, and I'd like Mr. Isa to respond to a few questions as well, if we may do that, Council Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Isa, did the mayor or the chief of staff forward to you questions that I had prepared and comments I had prepared and that Mr. Ali Dib, the city engineer, had prepared?
No, we haven't yet.
He
They said
Oh,
they
I'm
have not.
sorry, Mayor.
They said they have not.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
We wanted.
Yeah, we will need to do that because it will be important in terms of negotiating anything. Secondly, I want the council to understand a few things just in terms of fundamentals. This is a concession agreement, and Mr. Dib can go into some of the differences if the council needs it. It is not a lease agreement. They're fundamentally different under the law. A lease agreement basically gives exclusive rights to the premises to whoever is the lessee or tenant. In this case, Mr. Isa's LLC. A concessionaire agreement gives them a license to basically operate the premises, but essentially does not exclude the city from being able to have access as long as it doesn't affect the business operations of the facility. Think the Wayne County or the Detroit Metro Airport. That's an example. The people who are over there, in general, the businesses are concessionaires. That's what we're dealing with in this situation, okay? So, and it's important because under the Liquor Control Commission rules, we have to still control the premises, at least in part, all right? So that is something that needs to be taken into account. So when we talk about rent, what we are really talking about is a fixed concession fee for the ability to have a license to operate the golf course and the banquet facilities on behalf of the city. And when we're talking about an investment, we're talking about improvements that can be made in the city's facility. We are not talking about leasehold improvements, all right? So it's a little different, and I want everyone to kind of be clear that there is a very important distinction. This distinction also means that we have much more input into things that take place after hours, like recreational events. And that will be something that I'll negotiate for and expect to end up pushing for, unless I'm told tonight by the council that that's not going to be something we're looking at. The other thing is Mr. Isa has used the term profits. Concession fees are not normally driven by profits. They are driven in part, in terms of a variable concession fee, by revenue. Why? Because someone can manipulate their expenses to show less profit. And the idea of a variable concession fee is, hey, if you're bringing in a certain amount of revenue after a certain threshold, we get a percentage of that no matter what, whether or not you are quote unquote profitable, and we negotiate that in advance. So we don't have people saying, geez, my profits have been off, but I've just been happening to pay my son and my daughter and my wife $100,000 per year to basically do nothing. Not saying Mr. Isa would do that, but that's what we are, why we look for a concession fee that is a percentage of revenue. And that's one element of the concession fee is a variable concession fee based on a percentage of revenue after a certain point, a fixed concession fee that is expected to be paid no matter what happens, and then an amount of investments. So I think those things are really important. I should also note that the city does not have contracts with leagues and banquet facilities at this time. The prior concessionaire did, but we want to have as little interruption with operations as possible, but we have no obligation with respect to those prior arrangements that were made by the prior concessionaire. And one other fundamental thing is the development of the property. There's nothing in the RFP package. There's nothing in any of the proposals. None of that is a concern. None of that would end up being something that I would even consider allowing for within anything that I end up negotiating. So, and there are ways also for us to fundamentally deal with those, but we don't need to discuss them now. So I wanted to clarify these fundamentals.
Gary, can you clarify that statement, please?
I'm sorry, which one?
Can you clarify that last statement with a little bit more details?
He doesn't want to.
About the development on the property?
Right.
Yeah. Basically, I've talked about this before. There have been ideas about having like a nonprofit act as an overseer with a restrictive easement. We investigated that years ago, found out that they would want to be paid $100,000 by the city. Did not seem like a really smart move to end up going that way. Having an agreement or having part of the contract with the new concessionaire saying there won't be any development is meaningless. We're the ones who own the premises, at least most of the premises. There's a part of it that's subject to a long-term, very long-term lease with Wayne County, one part of the golf course that was part of the sale. But essentially, what we should be looking at, in my view, is to have a charter amendment that would end up restricting things so that there would need to be a vote of the residents before the golf course property could be sold for, say, commercial development. That would be a much more rational restriction for us to use to impose on people to deal with Councilman Wenzel's concerns. It'd be much more reasonable to do that than to put in something in an agreement that the city can end up changing by vote of 4 council members. 4 council members can't do anything about something that is in the city charter. Only the residents can end up changing that. That would be, in my mind, the most rational and fundamental way to ensure that the Wayne County Golf Course is not developed in the future, or if there's some circumstances that require something to change, the residents can make that decision, and then it won't be up to just say 4 council members. So does that clarify that, yes, Council Chair?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Council Chair, he mentioned my name there. Mr. Miyake, I wasn't referring to the contract with the vendor. I was referring to the original sales contract from Wayne County to Dearborn Heights with the, there was no stipulation on development.
Right, nor would that have, again, been something to include within a sales contract. There would be no one who would administer that other than the city itself as the owner of the property. So if we put restrictions on ourselves, it would not be included, and when I say ourselves, I'm talking about the city. If there's going to be restrictions on the city, the most valid way to end up putting those restrictions on would be to have something, a charter amendment that would end up dealing with that. Putting it into an agreement with the county would have just meant that a group of 4 council members years later could end up saying, we don't care what that says. We can undo anything that would have been put into an agreement with the county by 4 votes, just like 4 votes of the council could have approved, or, you know, could be used to have approved the purchase of the golf course. So I'm just trying to address something that's more fundamental. The 2 most effective ways to deal with it would be an easement, but the easement route basically would cost us like $100,000 and would potentially be something that residents 20 years from now might say, no, we want to end up doing something a little different in terms of selling the property, and maybe they could come up with something that's better than, or that would change with the circumstances. But that would keep it out of the hands of the city council as a decision and leave it to the people of the city to make that decision. And, you know, charter amendments are not an easy thing to necessarily do unless there's a great deal of support, especially on something like this.
Okay.
So
Council Chair,
that was
Gary, I wanna-
he's referring to the
Wait,
easement as
wait,
a
I'm sorry.
conservation
Councilman,
easement?
1 second, just 1 second. We're getting way off subject here. Now we're into the development of the golf course. This
legality.
thing
No, this is-
specifically is about Warren Valley being run by concessionaires. So let's stick to the subject.
Well, he referred to it as part of the contract.
But he's talking about a part of the contract way back when.
No,
when it was
no, he's
purchased.
referring to what, the contract with the current
But the
bidders.
contract isn't done yet.
if I may say,
Yeah.
it won't even be an issue in the
Right.
in the current
Correct.
contract.
Yeah.
That was what my point was, that it's not an issue whatsoever.
Because whoever it is
And-
can't build on the
Well,
property.
no, there's nothing that says they can't build on it. There's nothing in writing that says they can, don't.
The consist-
They don't, they
You can't do
can't,
it.
1
No,
second.
him,
They-
I know him.
They can't,
but-
wait,
I
wait,
know.
wait, wait, wait.
But-
I'll handle this very easily.
But listen,
Nobody can build on it
Who
because.
says who?
Let me explain to you. Nobody can build on it. No concessionaire can build on it
I
because
know.
they don't own it. So
Right.
whoever the concessionaire is, whether they have a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, or even a 100-year, cannot go build on a property that they don't own.
I know, but I'm saying, anybody in particular, not just a concessionaire. There's nothing in writing anywhere that says this property is unbuildable forever. A conservation easement, I was part of this commission, the conservation easement. It wasn't 100,000, Gary, they got it down to about $60,000. And what this does, it prohibits any development. It's a conservation easement, it's monitored by a separate entity, and all it says is this area that you consider, you designate as a conservation easement, it cannot be developed, you can't even put, you have to get permission to put like a playscape on it. And that would be the golf course only itself.
Okay.
And that's what he's referring to as the easement. And where the city didn't jump on board with this because of the cost. At that time, it was $100,000 for, and they maintain it, $100,000 flat rate. They check on it all the time to make sure that things are kept up to par, no pun intended, but, and that there's no building done. There could be like nature walks built on it. It's all up to this conservation easement.
But right now, we are only here to pick a concessionaire, or at least to have a presentation by a concessionaire. So let's stick with that particular subject, because otherwise, we go on and just
Put a
keep going
resolution
off
together.
track, and then that would be, have to be up at a council meeting, whatever, but we'll be going off track, and we'll be
Council
here
Chair.
for 9 hours. So go
Council Chair.
ahead, Gary.
Yeah, any concession agreement that I draft will be based on the idea that any long-term improvements are going to have to be agreed upon by the city. As a matter of fact, part of the questions that I had ended up preparing and comments that I ended up preparing were that there would be specific improvements to the premises that would be critical, and that we would have a schedule of those to start, to deal with the initial things. And then any improvements beyond that would still need to end up having city improvement or approval. And what I mean by that are things like, the roof being repaired, the parking lot being taken care of, and a schedule for doing that. I'm not talking about something that would have nothing to do with golf course operations. And again, a concessionaire would not be allowed to do that, and it won't be in an agreement that I'm going to negotiate on behalf of the city.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So at this particular point, we're done with the council members. Any questions from the audience? Comments or questions, come on up. You will have 2 minutes.
I'm going to ask for a lot more than 2 minutes because this is subject very important to 64,000 people in this city, including myself, my grandchildren, and my children.
Okay?
And you too. in your kids, in your whole family.
Absolutely.
So I am asking, please, to give me the time, because this leaving...
How much time do you need?
I try my best in the 5 minutes time or less,
Okay, go ahead.
okay? First, talk about the RFQ. This is the worst RFQ I have seen in my life. Where is the vision of the city? What did you ask in this RFQ, all these people who bid? What do you want to be done to this building, to this property? You want it to be improved. You just threw on a weekend, Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday was a holiday. You gave the people 8 days to bid on multi-million-dollar project, which is not enough, which make me believe that some of the bidders knew ahead of time of what going to be happening, and they prepared their RFQ. And I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying my personal feeling. Second, the city failed, especially Mr. Mayatki. When the county had the contract with Oneida, they had $125,000 letter of credit for the county as deposit if anything happened. Why, when we signed the contract with Oneida, we didn't ask for the same thing? And if you walked through this building, you see the damage which has happened, and I believe some of it is very intentional. Where was the city? Where was the ordinance? Where was everybody? Sleeping at the counters. So we are left.
Council Chair.
Okay, stop his time for a sec. Okay, go ahead, Gary. 1 second.
All right. I want to point out that Mr. Abdul Haq is quite mistaken about what he is saying with respect to a number of things.
Okay, wait.
We ended up
Gary,
being assigned.
Wait, Gary, if you don't mind,
Okay.
let me allow him to finish. He's got 3 minutes and 25 seconds left. Let me allow him to finish, and then you'll be able to answer his questions if you don't mind. Unless you
Very
think it's
good,
time
thanks.
sensitive to answer it within his conversation.
No, that's
Okay.
fine.
So
I'll
if you don't mind,
respond
please.
after.
Go ahead.
I'm going to answer him. Yes, we were assigned from the county, but his rent finished on September 30th, 2021. Then we reassigned it to him, and we forget to get the $125,000. If I am mistaken, I challenge him to tell me I'm wrong.
You are.
Okay, prove it.
Okay, 1 second.
Show me the
1
contract.
second. Finish your
Nice.
comments first, Mr. Abdul Haq, then we'll have him answer.
I would like Mr. Mayatki to read from the RFQ, item number 1.26, to the audience and to the residents.
I don't know why, I don't even know what
Okay,
you're referring to,
I'll-
Mr. Abdul
I'll-
Haq.
You wrote it, you can read it.
I'll read it afterwards, but go ahead.
Mr. Abdul Haq, I've wrote it.
Wait,
very long.
Gary, 1 second. Go ahead, continue with your comments, then we'll have him answer, and then I will read 1.26.
Section 1.26 calls for people who bid to submit cashier or certified check. Can you please, Council Chair, read who submitted cashier check and who did not?
Okay, so.
In violation of the RFQ.
Okay, so we have cash, according to the bids, we have a 5,000, this is the bid summary from the administration. We have a $5,000 cashier's check from the Davy Tree Expert Company, DBA Davy Golf. We have from the Issa Brothers a $5,000 check. We have from Ahmed Mackey a $5,000 cashier's check. And we have from Baba's Grill a $5,000 cashier's check.
Which one is in violation of the terms and conditions of Article 1.26?
None of them.
What do you mean, none of them? It said cashier and certified check. Which one is cashier and certified check?
There's cashier's check, cashier's check, cashier's check,
In a check.
and there's a check.
In a business check. In a business check.
Okay,
That is-
well then who, that was
is
something that should have been taken care of in the comptroller's office.
That is wrong, because if you allowed to disqualify
did?
Mr. Mayatki, if you did.
I did?
If you disallowed Davy because they asked for money in violation of one of the terms in this, I will ask you to treat everybody else the same way. Otherwise, you are favoring people over other people.
Mr. Abdul Haq, you're
Yes.
assuming I made these decisions, and I didn't make any of these decisions.
I understand.
I didn't make a decision to disqualify anyone or disallow their bid.
Okay.
Any
That's correct.
decision is
That's
personal.
correct.
I just heard at the beginning, the mayor said we disqualified Davy because they asked for 700 or 800,000.
With respect, Councilman, I would have,
I am.
Council Chair.
Okay, wait, let's
I am
let's allow
going
him,
to
he's got
say.
a minute and 20 seconds, go ahead.
I'm going to say something. This is rush job. This is not boiled potatoes. You put it for 15 minutes, then you feed it to the public. This is multi-million-dollar project. It needs to be done properly. I'm asking you, the city council, you are responsible in front of everybody and in front of God to do the right decision. Send it back to the administration. Give the people enough time to do it properly. Ask him what you want to be done on this property specifically. Then you decide on the right person to take this. And I'm not talking against anybody. Mr. Isa is a terrific guy. I love what he does in the city. He's a very successful businessman. But I want this to be transparent, a process, in a fair process, because it's my money, your money, and everybody's money. And it's time to have little transparency in this city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdul Haq. At this particular point, I'm going to have two people allowed to answer the questions. I think, Mr. Mayor, you want to answer something, and then Gary Miyake will go ahead and answer.
No, I just want to, as I mentioned earlier, you guys were aware that we had it up first for 2 weeks. Then
Correct.
the council asked for additional week. It was up for bid for 3 weeks, not few days. And, that's stuff, you can go back and we can look at the data on that. And the thing with Davy is because we asked to, not for us to pay a company to run the course. And that's the reason why we didn't go with Davy, is because we're not going to pay whatever the $800,000 for them to operate the course. Because the city doesn't have that money to pay a company to come and run it for us. That's not the intention of the bid net. Is we wanted a company to come in and pay the city for them to actually be the concessionaire of the golf course.
Mr. Mayor, if I could interrupt there, I think what Mr. Abdul Haq is referencing, I think you used the word disqualify, and maybe from a technical standpoint, they did not disqualify, you just didn't favor them.
Yeah, because we're not gonna, again, we're not asking for a company to come in, okay, I'll clarify. We asked for a concessionaire to come in and just pay the city. I don't have the contract in front of me, but basically for capital investment to pay rent and also if there's concession. And that's what they came up. So when Davy came back and they said, okay, you pay us this much, we'll operate it for you. But again, that wasn't our intentions. Our intentions to have somebody do it because the city is not in the business of running the golf course.
Right.
And also, we're not going to pay anybody money to run the course for us at this time
I'll
because we don't
second
have the
that.
money.
But what
Especially when
capital
there's-
investment are these other bidders putting on the golf course? There's nothing.
Okay, if you could,
Well-
just give me, wait, Councilman, 1 second.
On the golf
Councilman,
course
1
itself,
second.
the golf
You'll have an
course.
opportunity to speak. Let me just allow Gary to finish answering Mr. Abdul Haq's questions, and I will go to council people in case they have a comment. Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Council Chair. I would note that of the RFP package, it says the city reserves the right to accept any and all quotes and to waive any irregularities or formalities with respect to any quote, which it shall deem to be most favorable to the interests of the city. Now, with respect to Davy, and again, I'm saying this on behalf of the administration, these were decisions that were not made by me. They were made by the mayor and I assume the chief of staff and Mr. Dibb. And I think it's the right decision, which is anyone saying that Mr. Isa would not be good for the $5,000. If they're not saying that, if Mr. Abdul Haq is saying that Mr. Isa would try to cheat the city out of $5,000 by doing a regular check as opposed to a certified check, then maybe he has a point. But if that's not what he's saying, then this is an irregularity that can be waived. Meanwhile, with respect to Davy, it's not a responsive quote because it's not a concession agreement. They're coming in and saying, we'll maintain things for you, but you will pay us. That's a fundamentally different type of RFP or package, I should say proposal, than what we were asking for, which was expressly in any number of places stated that the city would be paid these amounts.
Okay,
Turning
Gary?
to the
Oh, I'm
one,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead, I thought you were done. Go ahead, because I had another question for you, but go ahead.
Sure. Turning to the $125,000 letter of credit. That letter of credit was something which was part of the concession agreement between the county and Oneida. That letter of credit and anything having to be administered with respect to that would have been administered by people other than me. And I very much resent and object to Mr. Abdul Haq making these attacks where he doesn't know what he's talking about. Sorry, respectfully, that's the truth. In terms of the $125,000, that item is not something that makes a difference in this situation with regard to evaluating these packages. And finally, we've been dealt a very difficult hand to deal with at this time. It's very nice to come up and be able to criticize people for basically sitting down, finding out that we fundamentally have to end up addressing something on an expedited basis for the city, including the mayor, the chief of staff, Mr. Dibb, and myself, to get things done so that we can have some continuity of service, and then say everything should be put on hold until we can do it perfectly. We did not know what the market would hold for us, and that's the reason why we put out the RFP package. We have the option at this point, now that we have proposals, to negotiate from those proposals, but we had no idea what we were going to be getting in terms of proposals.
Okay.
And that's what we're dealing with.
Okay,
This
Gary?
is not something that I would consider to be a perfect RFP package or a perfect proposal because of the nature of the hand we were dealt. And unless Mr. Abdul Haq wants to end up suggesting to the council that you put it off for a month and a half, potentially let those leagues go elsewhere, not have any continuity with respect to the golf course, and deal with the fallout thereafter, then I think Mr. Abdul Haq needs to speak more constructively with respect to this issue. And respectfully, Mr. Abdul Haq, that's what you should try to do. And City Council, I'm sorry for the little bit of a rant here, but I think that this is something that really needs to be understood.
Okay, Gary.
Thank you.
Gary, one of the
Yes,
questions,
sure.
one of the questions that former Councilman Mr. Abdul Haq asked is on section 1.26. It says, each quote must be accompanied by a certified or cashier's check in the amount of $5,000 as a bid bond. The question he has is the bid from Mr. Isa in violation of that particular section of the bid net?
Is it? Yes, but is it something that could be waived under section 1.34 if the administration, including the mayor, felt that it made sense to do so? Absolutely. Does it have to be a cashier's or certified check? Was it non-responsive in that regard? Yes. But is it an irregularity that should be waived? Yes, because it's most favorable to the interests of the city, and that's consistent with section 1.34 of the RFP package.
Okay, and I'm going to read that. It says, "The city reserves the right to accept any and all quotes and to waive any irregularities or formalities with respect to any quote, which it shall deem to be most favorable to the interests of the city."
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Gary. There's Council Member Tom Wenzel had a question, and then Councilman Baydun.
Okay, well, one of my questions is the Davy Company here tonight? Raise your hand.
They're not,
They're not? Why aren't they here?
because they were not asked to be here for a presentation by the administration. And the administration chose the better quotes to come here forward to present to us.
Okay, well, I mean, I would like to hear, I mean, they're asking for money to maintain a golf course, but someone comes and mows my grass, you know, they don't pay me, you know, I pay them. So if you're hiring a company to maintain, now, I don't know what the profits are on golfing, but maybe something in their bid would be, you know, you pay us $700,000 a year, but we'll give you, I mean, is there anything in there that says they'll share in profits at all in there? I mean, I'd like to see in there, were they called and told that they're not welcome here?
Council Chair.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead. Would you like to speak, Chief of Staff?
Hello, council members.
Bring the microphone closer, please.
Sorry, I'm short.
Thank you.
Hello, council members. We did share all of the packages with your honorable body, and if you read their RFP, it very clearly just tells us what the cost would be to maintain the grounds of the course. There is nothing there with regards to revenue or them making a revenue. It is simply what it costs to maintain a golf course. The irrigation, keeping the grass green, the trucks, all of that. That's what their package is. That's why
Council
they
Chair?
weren't invited to come in.
Yes, 1 second, Mariana. Go ahead, Gary.
And one of the things that Oneida said is that their revenue was approximately $1.1 to $1.2 million per year for the last 3 years. I think it was closer to 1.1. And that the Davy proposal would only include golf operations, nothing in terms of banquet. So, you know, if we're paying something that might turn out to be $800,000 out of $1.1 million to start, that could end up being a problem. Now, my personal feeling is that a better operator could generally generate a much greater revenue stream, and I'm hopeful that Mr. Isa or some other company would be able to do so. But, you know, to be committed to having to pay potentially $854,000 in year 2026 strikes me as potentially not a very reasonable way to end up approaching this. Thank you.
So is Hilltop doing it for free? I mean, they got to be paid somehow. And in one of the other bids, it was one of the vendors was going to pay for that cost the $700,000. I'm just saying, you got to pay apples to apples here. The golf course isn't going to be cut and maintained for free.
Well, any
Right?
management agreement, whoever's making a bid, any management agreement for the golf course, in this particular case, what you're referencing, would have to, we're saying it here publicly, would have to be paid by whoever is going to be the operator.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not, it looks like these guys are going to come in and charge it, and that's it. But they're going to, whoever maintains the golf course is going to charge somebody.
And it would be charging
The
the
concessionaire.
concessionaire, whoever it
Yeah.
happens to be.
Not the city.
And so I'm saying if there was another bid that was going to be a combined effort, not to down any bids out here tonight, and because they
Well,
were.
the only one with the combined effort was Isa Brothers.
They were disqualified and not had an opportunity to come in, because I talked to somebody else, and they said that they were willing to pay the Davy their price. But Davy was disqualified to even come here and speak.
But, okay, but just to be fair though, Councilman, I mean, you got to think of it here from the administration's perspective. You've got you had 2 weeks for bidding.
Three.
No, initially it was 2.
But listen, I'm saying, there was someone that said, I'll pay that $700,000.
Pay $700,000 to us a year, you mean?
Yeah, someone was going to do
Okay,
that.
and that's fine. I
Mike
respect it.
Mackey was going to pay Davy Company $700,000 out of.
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying now. Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying now. Okay, So I'll address that just specifically. And again, we just have to be fair, because this is how this works. When somebody puts in an RFP, okay, request for proposal, when somebody puts in a proposal, it's sealed bids. If you recall, the administration said that they would be opening up these bids on Thursday at 3 PM.
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? I thought it was Thursday. Wednesday, I'm sorry, correction, Wednesday. Wednesday at, if I'm not mistaken, it was 3 PM, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Last Wednesday at 3 PM, those bids, according to the mayor at the time, would be open right next to our conference center, the conference room there. It'll be open, they'll open up the bids. Anybody can be there to watch if that's what they'd prefer. And I remember the mayor mentioning that this was going to be in front of everybody. The bids would be open, and we'll select one of them. Nobody can change their bid. We're not talking about this, we're talking about in general. When you put it out for RFP, whatever bid you put out is whatever bid you put out, and then one is selected. Now, put yourself in the administration's position, because they're the ones that ask the presenters to come present to us. If you were them, if I was sitting at the table and you got 4 potential bidders here, and one of them says, you guys pay me to run the golf course, and 3 others say, I'll expand the golf course, not expand the golf course, I'm sorry, improve the golf course, and you're talking about, no matter what, depends on a particular dollar, but all 3 of them are in the millions. Would you, I mean, just common sense that you would only work with ones that are willing to pay us for improving the golf course, like what happened at Elite Sports down the street, which was a mess, and Mr. Mackey took over that project, and it was supposed to be just improved, and next thing you know, we got a brand-new, gorgeous building that the residents are gaining
Well,
from.
Council Chair, all the bids, the only thing they say about the golf course is improve as needed.
Yeah, it needs a lot.
Yeah, so they're giving a breakdown on, the banquet facilities, right? And they're telling us
Council
what they're
Chair?
gonna do for the banquet facilities.
Okay.
So they're not telling us what they're gonna do for the golf course.
But what this would, this
Council
is a
Chair?
part of the specific negotiations, right? That's just request for proposal. Go ahead, Gary.
I would note one of the other things. When we had discussions internally among the administration with this, and the mayor certainly can explain this further, there was only one potential operator that said golf course operations and banquet operations. I mean, we're hearing about what Mr. Mackey said he's willing to do at this time, but it wasn't part of his bids. That's why if you look at the bid tabulation, it shows for him banquet operations only. So, excuse me. So whether or not he was going to potentially bring in Davy, I wish he had included that in his proposal, because then we would be able to compare Isa Brothers to what Mr. Mackey would end up having, and I'm all for competition. But he only spoke in terms of, or prepared a proposal that said banquet operations only.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Anybody else from the audience that, come on up, please state your name, street you live on. You will have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hassan Saab, John Daly. I have a question to,
Speak in the mic, Haas, please.
I have a question for Councilman Winsall. I actually viewed the walkthrough that day to put in a proposal, and I had a proposal right now, but I didn't submit it. The only person I seen there was Mr. Muscat that walked the field. With respect to Mr. Mackey's bid, when you submit a bid and it's one item, you can't just go back and change it or add on to it down the road, just as a reference. Davy was there bidding. They wanted to put their bid. Their bid is not what the city requested in the proposal. So whatever, with all respect to Mr. Mackey and all the great things he does, if he decided to do that and that, I could have bid out the golf course myself. He would not have qualified for the golf course. He didn't bid for the golf course.
I understand. Do you have a question? I mean,
No, but my question to you is, you're saying that, with respect to Mr. Mackey's bid, that, oh, he wanted Davey to come in and pay, but Mr. Mackey's bid did not include the golf course.
Yeah.
Included the banquet only.
yeah, I understand.
So that would be in violation of the proposal the city requested. Because when the bids are due, they're due. You can't go back and alter a bid that was put on bid now.
Well, we could approve 2 bids
But it would have never been, if Davy came in and said that they wanted to take the golf course and pay the city,
Well, if that was the point, they should just advertise for golf course and banquet operations only.
well, they put two different proposals.
There's three.
There were three different proposals,
Three-
the banquet, and the golf course, or the golf
Yeah,
course.
they should just did one, banquet and golf course. I mean, it's,
Some people aren't up to that task.
I know Mr. Mackey would like to speak. I mean, but
Council Chair?
Okay, 1 second, Mr. Mayor. Are you all set, Mr. Saab?
thank you. I understand your concern. Yeah, I
No,
follow
it's
you. I
nothing
agree
personal
with
against
you.
anybody, it's just
I
the
know.
way proposals work and bids are put in. You either choose one, you choose the other, or you don't bid at all.
Or we could choose two.
Well,
'Cause
but that's not what the city requests.
Yes,
But-
because one of them was for a bid for golf course only, and another one was for banquet only. So that means we have the option of taking two.
Which, you have somebody that bidded the two. That was an option too. But whatever the people that bid what they thought was feasible to them.
Well, regardless of who bid it,
Okay.
we could have approved one person for golf
Councilman.
course only, and we could have approved one person for banquet only.
Right, but the golf course, what Davey requests is that the city pay them.
Okay, Mr. Saab?
Okay.
We're past your time.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very
guys.
much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I understand, thank you.
Okay, anybody else in the audience? Go ahead, you have 2 minutes. Please state your name, street you live on.
Bilal Hamoud, Outer Drive. So as a resident of the city, as a future business owner of the city, when working on something,
Nice, congratulations.
thank you.
Sign an NDA, can we know about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you guys in a bit. But I got to use my 2 minutes. Look, I'm tired of seeing this city settle. And right now we have 4 puzzle pieces we're trying to make fit together in this pretty picture, and it doesn't seem like it's going to. I don't see that these 3 weeks were enough time. I like that a lot of our bids come from the city of Dearborn Heights, Davie aside, which we're not currently considering for several reasons. All of our bids come from within the city, which is good. It also speaks to the greater issue that we didn't get the message out there to other vendors, other possible bidders in a broader radius. And I want to see more attention put into this for something that's going to be impacting our city, arguably the largest public land space for the next 10, 15, and plus years. I have genuine concern for this because we know how valuable this property is, and I don't think that we've gotten the proper valuation from other bidders at this moment. I do ask the council to take it back, extend the deadline for bids in fairness of the current bids that we've seen, keep the current bids there, allow them to either keep their bid or amend their bid, and then pursue further bids, for the next month. I'd honestly say a month is a good amount of time to secure more bids, because I'm personally not satisfied. No offense to any of the businesses, no offense to anyone who's put in a bid, just with the amount. I want to see more options to work with.
Council Chair?
Please.
Council Chair?
One
I'd like
quick
to address
second.
that one.
How much time does he still have?
27.
27 seconds. Were you all set?
Was there a response that anyone want to provide?
Well,
on the
we'll give you a
feasibility?
response, but I will make sure your time is, are you all
So
set?
I want to make sure, is it feasible for us to push this back, to give an extension to the bid deadline, like legally speaking, now that we've opened ourselves up to bidding? So that's, I guess, a question to Miyake.
Gary Miyake.
Well, actually,
Okay.
Council Chair,
So,
I
Mayor,
can
go ahead.
address. So when BidNet actually doesn't just go to Dearborn Heights, it goes all over. I've gotten calls from an entity from Georgia, and there was an entity from Tennessee. So obviously other states, not just the state of Michigan. I've gotten 2 entities that reached out from other states, so they did see it on BidNet. So it wasn't just local to Dearborn Heights. So when I did talk to the county regarding to who bid on the course back in the day before we took it over, and the reason why I asked is I wanted to see if there was any other potential bidders that were interested back, about 2 years ago or so, before we took it over. And I was told that there was only one bidder that bid on the course at that time, and that was the Oneida,
The current operator.
the previous operator.
Right.
So they were the only bidders that they came, and they said they put it on BidNet. I mean, they put it on, I don't know if BidNet, but they put it out for bid for a long time, and they only got one person or one entity, and that was the previous person that had it. But we did put it out, like I said, for 3 weeks, and I did get calls from other states that they saw it, and they wanted to know more information. I sent them the information, But again, they were not interested in doing a concession as we put it up on BidNet. They wanted to alter it and do a management. As mentioned, it was like Hilltop, what Hilltop was going to do.
Well, we pay them.
Yeah, we pay them, and basically they'll come and operate it. They'll operate the whole thing, the golf course and the banquet. We'll give them a fee, and then we get the profit. But we already know we're not in the business of doing that because we don't want to drag our city into a financial issue with whoever operates it. We want to take the burden or the liability from that part monetary to the concessionaire.
Okay, and I do want to point out one thing, that the focus on administration, the council, and everybody is to keep this place operating ASAP. So the longer we take out with bids, you know, like, for example, we could have said, okay, next 180 days, you know, or 90 days for that matter. But then what that would do is that would shut the place down for an additional 90 days, whoever we end up picking after the 90 days would take a week or two before there's an actual meeting for picking, and then we pick somebody, so there's now, we got 90 days plus another 14 days, we got 104 days, and then we go from there. Whoever takes it over has got to start working on it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm referencing in general, the focus of administration was to get somebody in there ASAP during the golf season and not lose too many people, because here's the thing, once one of the leagues that golf in our golf courses sign up with golf course B or C or D, the chances of them coming back is much more minimal. And the focus of administration is to keep this thing operating ASAP with a viable contractor. But thank you, Bilal. He's answered your question. Unless you have, I will give you 10 more seconds.
I just had an additional few seconds. So I understand the urgency, and I respect where you're coming from and where corporate counsel is coming from on that urgency. You guys stressed it from a very logical perspective. My concern is we're not going to make this place attractive enough to bring in new. I understand we want to retain the old, but we should be also trying to bring in the new. I would recommend that you guys put this to a open town hall. Am I allowed to get 30 seconds additional?
I've already given you extra. Okay, go ahead. Last
Just
10,
real quick.
10 seconds, please.
An open town hall forum to get input from the residents on what they want to see someone who's potentially investing in this space do, and then let the bidders factor that into their proposals. That way we can see a more robust bid.
I'm just kind of thinking out loud real quick.
Please.
And I'm just, Bilal, and you have to just hear me out real quick. I think it's a town hall, one, like you said, we're time sensitive. But my only question is, how would that operate for, say, for example, Mike Mackey bid a $2 million for just the banquet. Wissam Brothers voted, bid at $3.4 million. Now, we know what the bids are. Now, are you saying that now Mike potentially wants to bid on both, knows what's happening on what Wissam, so now is Wissam forced to go higher? Mike's saying, well, you know what, he might go higher, so I have to come in. I mean, this sucks.
I mean, we're talking about competitiveness, right? It will help nothing but the city. So that transparency, I think, only just helps us in the end. But thank you. Thank you guys.
Councilor Chair, real quick. Okay, so I did mention the roof leaking. So the longer we wait on this, the more damage is going to be in the banquet hall. So right now, we know there's a lot of damage. As mentioned earlier, there's mold. So the longer we wait, you know, that I don't know how much money we're going to pump into the banquet hall. So just take that under consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any other, come on up, sir.
2 minutes. My name's Don Kaminsky, and I live on Amboy Street.
Me too.
Yeah, neighbor. How are you? I think Mr. Abdulhaq started his speech off with in the right vein. You guys are here. You have the opportunity to make a earth-shattering or groundbreaking decision here, because, like you said, you're going on the 100th year anniversary of this place. More time needs to be put to this. You can't, just like any other type of recipe, you can't rush it. It's not going to be done, at least not the way that you want it to. As a resident of Dearborn Heights, we chose this area because of the golf course, and the surrounding area. We don't want to see it turned into a carnival atmosphere. You know, it's a golf course. I have golfed at other golf courses around the state, around the Wayne County area, Lockmore. I've been up to Bay Point. I've been out to Wabeek. I mean, you walk into these places, it feels dignified. And you guys need to, however this is done, this has to be made, it has to be done with dignity. I'm not crazy about driving down Warren and seeing flashing lights. You know, it's a golf course. You know, low-key, develop it to a point where people want to come back to it. Keep the circus atmosphere, you know, away. Make the banquet facilities, like you said, Mr. Mayor, make the banquet facilities world-class where people will want to come and dine. Make it a gem. It is a gem.
Yeah.
It's a diamond in the rough right now. What you need to do is develop that and polish it back up and make people want to come here. Now, I don't doubt any of the businessmen here have, I think they can do the job. I think they need some direction from you rather than just leaving it out there and saying, we want you to come in and run this place and, you know, give us part of your profits or whatever you want to call it, Mr. Miyake, I don't know. But make sure that it's done right. It's incumbent upon you guys, because I don't see very many people here from the neighborhoods. I think this needs more attention. I think it needs more time. I think you need more bids. And be more specific about what you want and how you want it developed. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Kaminsky. I do want to point out two things. Number one, keep in mind that there's not people standing in line to run a golf course, especially with the amount of improvements and investments. Now, I'm not speaking to you specifically, I'm talking about in general. The amount of improvements that are needed on this particular golf course, in this particular building, in this particular parking lot, and I could go on and on and on. For those that have walked through it, they know what I'm referencing. It is in bad shape and needs a lot of work. So I can speak for myself personally. I'm going to be focused on who's going to be doing the most improvements to the facility, using Elite Sports as a model.
I may have this all wrong, but is the city considered a landlord in this respect?
You know, yeah.
I don't believe, I'm not an attorney, but I don't believe the city is considered a landlord because we are not leasing it to them.
They're a concessionaire. Sure we are.
Go ahead, Ali or Mariana.
Okay, I just wanted to point out a few things because it seems to be a lot of misunderstanding of what we're trying to do here. This is a concessions agreement. We own the place. We own the facility. The city of Dearborn Heights owns the facility. This is a concessions agreement. And if you paid attention to what Mr. Miyake had indicated, the next step in the process is to sit down with successful concessionaire to go over the terms of the concession agreement. And the terms of the concession agreements will take into account a detailed breakdown of what the minimum capital investment required to operate the place.
Correct.
Now, having done concession agreements all my life, I talked to Mr. Miyake throughout the process when we evaluated, and we have the structure of the concession agreements or the payback to the city is based on MAG, minimum annual guarantee. This is standard industry terms. These are the things that we have to negotiate. So we'll take into account what the minimum capital investment required to operate the place. So there's a lot of talk about, you know, I like to start tomorrow, but there are things that the city as well as, and I probably spent the most person that spent time on the facilities, and we know very little about the conditions. There are a lot of things that are required before you can turn this place over to operation, both on the concessions, on the golf side and the building side. Now, Some things are bare minimum that you must have. And these things that you wanted to make sure that when we get to the phase 2 in the concession agreement negotiations with the successful concessionaires, we take all of these things into account. Then we will talk about what is required, and then you can phase it out. Before you can commit to a timeline, you wanted to make sure that, the mayor indicated about the roof repairs, absolutely. We have things, rooftop units. These are not rooftop units where I believe 3 out of 5 don't work. And these are not shelf items that you can go and operate. So, and you must have. So we have things. We have no kitchens, right? So, all of these things have to be taken into account. And then you can structure a concession agreement with a timeline, a minimum annual guarantee, and an escalated percentage of POS. And that is critical to understand. It's not based on profit. It's point of sales. So the concessionaires, the city who owns the facility, we are the landlord. We determine what goes on, and the concession operator is operating the facilities for you. This is the way it was envisioned to be, and this is how we will structure that agreement. And we'll come back to you. It's not a lease, it's not an operation, so it takes into account all these things. And then both on the golf side, we need to come up with a condition assessment, and then agree with the operator on what needs to happen before we can start working.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deeb.
Amen.
Council Chair, may I?
Yes, go ahead, Gary.
Yes, just to follow up on what Mr. Deeb indicated, and on the comment of Mr. Kaminsky. Yes, there could potentially legally be a delay with regard to this, but as Mr. Deeb pointed out, there's some important stuff that needs to be done. It strikes me as being potentially very difficult, given the urgency of everything, to hold something off with the idea that we might get proposals. So, and then we would still have to negotiate from there and get certain things technically worked out with Mr. Deeb, who would do a wonderful job, I'm sure, but that still takes time. So that's why the urgency is there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana, go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to add that, again, this negotiations, it's all a work in progress, and every single day we're coming up with different things that need to be added into this contract. For example, how often are our inspectors going to go out there? Is it going to be annually on a 6-month basis? How often are we going to check the grease traps? All of those items need to be worked into that contract. But again, it is our contract, so we're the ones who get to determine what the rules are and how they're developing, and whether or not they need a new HVAC system or they need to repair the concrete first. And all of those responsibilities are going to be held and outlined in the contract. And Mr. Deeb is going to play a major part, as well as our inspectors, in every single development that they do in that building. So again, I just want to clarify that for the public. It's not like we're just giving a free range for the developers to do whatever they want. No, we will still oversee every single step of the way what's happening.
Okay, thank you. I just want to take this 10 seconds to recognize two great people in our community that put in a lot of time and effort for the sake of the students and the residents. Our school board, from Crestwood School Board, council members here, I happen to see them, Sue Kaminsky and Najah Jannoun. So I'd like to thank them both for their service.
Thank you, ladies, for coming. Najah, I'm going to return your call, I promise.
Council
Okay.
Chair.
Anybody else from the audience?
Council
Yes,
Chair,
Madam Clerk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to chime in, if they could share with the staff here at Crestwood, Dave Anderson and his team, and David Green and their team. They've been phenomenal in accommodating all of us.
Absolutely.
And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be, I don't know where we'd be.
Council Chair.
We have connections to a former school board member.
Council
Helps.
Chair. Council Chair.
Go ahead.
Can we also, real quick, just take a second to wish Lynn a happy birthday?
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Lynn.
Happy birthday.
And Councilman Baydoun's birthday was last week.
Yes.
So let's wish him.
This is going to go on for a very long time.
I'll sing it to you in Arabic, but not publicly, afterwards.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Mike Mackey, Martha Street, Dearborn Heights. Council Chair, may I have an extra minute, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all, everyone needs to take a deep breath, okay? These bidding and all these things that we go through to make the city more beautiful and more productive for the residents takes a lot of work on our behalf, okay? And we care about the city just as much as you guys do, and that's why you're up here, because people believe in you and support you and want to hear your voices. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for always talking so kind about me, and I'm truly honored and humbled, number one.
We're clapping for ourselves, Mike.
If I could take, let me take 5 seconds of your time. Just for full disclosure for those in the audience and on Zoom, Mr. Mackey was one of the bidders. He's the one I spoke about earlier that decided to take his bid off the table. But go ahead.
Thank you. As you know, I'm very passionate about the city and the well-being of it. I came here today, number one, to wish Mr. Issa good fortune and the best of luck. The RFP process is open-ended and is open the city and can be open to litigation with the way it's handled. Mr. Saab comes up here and says that I could not be added another portion of my bid to the golf course. That is not my intent, let me be clear, but I also want him to know that if we can make adjustments in the RFP, then we can do it across the board. So let's think about this in the future. Let's make sure we address this correctly. Let's not leave open-end items to be debated or to be misunderstood or miscued. Another thing, I've done several bids with the city of Dearborn Heights. I'm going to give you my opinion, and I hope that you take this very seriously. The way the bids are handled when they are presented to the person that's taken in the bids is, number one, incorrect. So the RFPs call for sealed bids of multiple copies and certain items. They should be treated like that. You should not be allowed to turn in a bid and take it back out and make adjustments to it. That's number one. So if we're gonna follow the RFP, let's do it from A to Z. If not, why don't we just all come up in front of council and tell you what we wanna do, and let's not waste thousands of dollars writing RFPs, thousands of dollars attorneys charge writing RFPs. Why are we doing that? So either we get this correct and do it the proper way, or let's find another angle here, all right? There's not too many people that are gonna spend $3.4 million in this golf banquet room like Mr. Issa is. I might be the only other crazy guy here, okay? And I know that it takes a big commitment, okay? So again, let's fix the process. Let's wish this man the best of luck. And let's be as transparent as possible and open as possible. And God bless our city, and God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the audience? Come on up.
Hello, Rachel LaPointe on Merrick Street. I have a laundry list of questions, and I will try and fit it within 2 minutes, but if I could get an extra minute, I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
I have like 10 Post-it notes here.
He's very generous with extra minutes today. I'm going to tell you right now.
I
I'm
know.
going to have
I'll
a
be
word with the
quick.
council.
Stop interrupting, Mo.
Okay. A lot of extra time today.
Okay, question one, and don't feel like you need to answer these because I know I have a ton. Could we use American Rescue Plan or COVID funds for improvements to the golf course?
No.
Is there any, like, there might, I don't know if there's COVID money that could be used for that. I think that Councilman Wenzel was spot on in wanting to discuss things like the conservation easement because there is no strategic plan here. It's clear that we're reacting to a situation. And when you react to a situation, you don't always make the best decisions. And I think that he was absolutely fair in bringing that up because if we're going to have a 10-year contract for the concessions, if in 5 years or 7 years the city decides to make a change in the plans for the golf course because of a certain thing that comes up then that we have to react to, that's going to cause a big problem. And related to that, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the Planning Commission and the powers that they have. I know they're responsible for the city master plan. Could they put something in the next master plan that could affect these sorts of things and the plans for for the golf course and what the vision for it is as a city, because it doesn't feel like there's a plan for it at all. Has the city reached out to other cities about running the course ourselves, such as Westland? I don't know how much that was done, because at least as a short-term thing, could we, the mayor was apparently able to hire the police commissioner fairly quickly without having to go through a lot of different things. I don't know what the whole process for that was. But if we were able to do that in such a quick manner, why are we not able to maybe just hire someone or come up with a summertime contract to run the golf course over the summer so that the council and everybody else can take the time to actually come up with a thoughtful plan for the golf course?
Can I interrupt that and answer that question?
No,
real
no,
quick?
one second.
I'm almost done with the questions. And then just a few things regarding the bids in general. What's the projected revenue? Have we seen like a full business plan, especially with like the 10-year thing again? What did the 10% or revenue sharing, was that going to include all revenue or not? Since the bids were not, like there wasn't a backup because this wasn't a regular city council meeting on the website, the public wasn't able to see what the bids were at all. So it would be nice to also get those available. And if we're doing a long-term contract, like 10 years, could we do reviews on an annual or biannual, like every 2 years basis, if it's suddenly becoming more profitable in 8 years?
Okay.
Wow, hit that time
So,
just right.
that was a lot of questions, but okay.
Yeah.
But that's good, that's good. So I'll give an opportunity for our corporation counsel to answer whatever ones that he wants to answer, whatever ones, I guess Councilman Baydun wants to answer on one of them. 1 second. And then if the mayor wants to answer any of them, go ahead.
Okay.
So let's start with you, Councilman.
I just have one question. I'm going to answer the one where you said, why couldn't we hire somebody, slow things down? From what I know and from walking through the golf course and from what I've had extensive conversations with the mayor, I believe even both council to my left and right over here, the venue needs a lot of money. And so if we were to, just put a Band-Aid real quick, the city can't afford it. So if we have somebody that's going to come in and say, hey, I'm going to put $3.2 million into both places, and guess what? We're going to award that person. We have a bid.
Well, wouldn't that $3.2 million be an investment over the course of the agreement?
Sure, but the city cannot afford right now to invest into that.
But that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting hire someone to just manage the golf course to get golfers in there for the next 2 months, 3 months.
Golf course, just for golf carts, and I do the math, at 5,000 golf carts, at $5,000 a golf cart, at 150 golf carts, it's going to cost you $1.1 million.
But
that's just to get up and running.
But to rent, I'm saying come up with a rental has that been priced out? A short-term rental contract?
Listen, we don't have that money. What you're saying is for us to put out that kind of money. If that was the case, then I'd hire Davey at $800,000 a year.
Yes.
We don't have that money. Where do you think that money's
So
gonna
we
come
had
from?
the money for the police commissioner, $100,000 plus.
You know what? You're mixing apples and oranges here.
But you're just saying we don't have the money.
Where you want me to come up with $800,000?
I don't, hey, that's
You're
not what
the
I'm.
one that's saying
That's
this.
$800,000 for the year. So 3 months would only be 1/4 of that, right?
What do you mean 1/4 of that's $800,000 per year?
Right. But
for the next 5 years.
What I'm saying is if we're reacting, we're going to lose money over the long term. We're going to lose way more than $800,000, right?
And if we don't act, that golf course is going to shut. You think these golfers will come back?
No, I'm not saying not to act.
You think
Ray.
they'll come back?
I don't know.
They won't.
If it's their favorite golf course,
I
you
can
never know.
guarantee you that these golfers, once they go someplace, they're not coming back.
Okay.
That's
Council
the way
Chair?
it works in that business.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay.
Ridiculous.
Mr. Miyake or
Yes.
Mayor, any questions that you'd like to answer? Because I know that she gave a lot of questions, and for those,
And I'll
whether
happily
it's,
send them along to you
I'm
as
sorry?
well. I'll happily send them along to you guys if you'd like a copy.
if you'd like, you could email it, and whoever would like to can go ahead and answer you, but I'll give our corporation councilor, Gary Miyake, an opportunity at least to answer. Go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair. I wanted to address the issue of a temporary contract. In part, Councilman Baydoun addressed that issue. And that is part of the issue. Part of the issue is no one submitted, and it was actually an option that was presented in the RFP package for someone to put in temporary proposals with respect to banquet services, golf course operation services, or a combination of the two. And we got absolutely no proposals with respect to that. So I take from that there is no real market for that, because people see the condition of the golf course and they're not going to come in, rush to do something to get it in order to end up being used and then not make any money off of it. We could ask for that all day. I don't see there being any market, because if there was, then we would have ended up receiving a proposal with respect to that. So frankly, that was one of the ideas that I had and proposed and put it in the RFP package, and there was no one who was interested in it. And that's why we can't have it.
Were the bids, you had to pay to see it on BidNet. I know someone could contact the city, but the bid just said golf course in the public information. So if someone would have been able to do the temporary thing, say a resident, they would not have been able to see that without paying or contacting the city. So if they just saw it on BidNet, like after looking at the city's link, if they were like me and like, oh, well, it's just for the golf course, I'm never going to do that, but they could have done the short-term thing, they might not have even thought to look at it, right?
Respectfully, Ms. LaPointe, here's the problem. If they're not going to pay to end up seeing the proposal on BidNet, then I don't think they have the wherewithal to actually end up coming in and potentially investing $2 million like Mr. Mackey was talking about, $3.4 million like Mr. Isa was talking about. I don't think they are in the position to actually do business with us and with respect to this particular matter.
Thank you, Gary.
I think you've misunderstood some of what I'm saying.
I got one comment.
Okay, quick comment.
Rachel LaPointe, do you know what the chief of police was making 5 years ago?
The chief 5 years
You brought
ago?
up the chief of police just now. Do you know what the chief of police was making 5 years ago?
Probably a terrible salary that should have
He
been
was making
given.
$100,000 a year. Okay? So you brought it up, and you want to say that we paid this chief of police $100,000? It's been that way for 5 years.
That wasn't my point, but.
No, that you brought up that point, so I just want to educate you a little bit that the police chief has made $100,000 for many years.
And they probably could make more.
All right,
But-
thank you, Rachel.
Well, then they can go to another city.
Councilman, thank you.
That's not what I'm saying, though.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you. Anybody else that needs to come up here in the audience? Councilman, are you speaking as a resident or as a councilman?
Does it matter?
Well, it does matter, because you have your opportunity here as a councilman. I need for full disclosure what you're speaking as.
Okay, well, I'm speaking as a resident at Tulane Street in the great city of Dearborn Heights.
Okay, he's got 2 minutes.
Now, this property is the Warren Valley Golf Course and Banquet Center. It seems like what we're doing is we're changing it to the Warren Valley Banquet Center and Golf Course. The emphasis, you can have a great golf course, and golfers will come out and they'll drink beer and smoke cigarettes in a dive bar. The golf course should be our main concern here. Nothing against the people that bid, but very little. There's a lot of work to be done on the golf. Without this golf course, all you're going to have is a restaurant 300 yards off Warren Avenue, and then a big pile of weeds and trees growing behind it that floods all the time. So let's put a little more emphasis on the golf course. Not a little, a lot more emphasis on the golf course. And I was just speaking to this gentleman here, and one of my suggestions was, okay, right away we need to fix the roof, get the roof fixed. He assured me he had somebody lined up. But what happens if the city went out? We've got a roofing guy already, company, working on City Hall. Fix the roof and put in a contract that the bid winner reimburse the city for the roof. Then when the roof's done, bam, as fast as possible. But he assured me if he got the bid, it'd be done fast too. But that's another thing. We could fix the roof. And I don't understand why, the golf course, profit-wise, has been like that much since I've been around. I don't think the city's made a penny on the golf course, because I've asked for it for 4 years and haven't got any response. So I imagine the golf course either made zero or losing money. So what's wrong with taking all the money that the bid winner gets, instead of giving the profits to the city, let's just break even and designate all profits awarded to the city back into the golf course. And break even. There's nothing wrong with having the best golf course around and breaking even. We haven't made money in the past on it. What's the big deal about it now? We don't count on it as income in our budget. So
Okay.
let's just concentrate on that. And maybe in the future we can make some money on it. But let's put our emphasis on the golf course and the banquet facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Anybody else from the audience that needs to speak? Okay. Nobody in the audience. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind, can you let in people on Zoom that would like to participate in public comments? You have 2 minutes. There's a hand up from a Nim
Yep, I just
Boudry.
asked to unmute. There you go.
Hi, this is Carol and Jim Boudry from Dearborn Heights. We're on Charlesworth. Gary Miyake used to live right around the...
If I may interrupt you for a sec, we're getting a lot of other noises in the back. So what you may want to do, maybe turn down the volume on your, the speaker on your computer, turn it off.
Speaker on it.
Okay, try that again.
Sorry, we're out to dinner right now.
Here we go, much better. Thank you. So
Is that
we'll start your time again, go ahead.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, Carol and Jim Boudry, Dearborn Heights on Charlesworth. I used to live right around the corner from Gary Miyake. I don't know if you remember the council.
Let's see what you're doing.
Thank you.
I've been a resident from Dearborn Heights my entire life. I'm going to be 60 years this December. And I have played on Warren Valley Golf Course since I was 10 years old. I get it. The course is not in the best of conditions. And we definitely need to make some major repairs on that. From people that I have spoken with in the golf community, one of the first and foremost things that needs to get taken care of is the greens. Before the new grass comes in, we need to make sure that those greens are cut properly. Otherwise, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair those. I get it. All the flooding over the last couple of years has made a big issue with the course. And, maybe at one point, back in the day when the course was first generated, the blueprints seem to show that the original depth of the Rouge River was like 65 feet. Now flood stage is 16, 17 feet. Is it a possibility to put some of that money from the city, and if we get grants from the city for the course, that we can re-drudge that river? If at that point we can, would that alleviate some of the problems in the south end of Dearborn Heights where the flooding has occurred throughout the past year or so with all the rains we've had? That's one of my main questions. Number two, we golf there almost every weekend at Warren Valley. And the amount of seniors that golf on that course, also with the seniors in the community, they used to have a lot of senior outings. Would that be taken into consideration with the new concessionaires? I know I proposed this to one of the council members. This is the 100th anniversary. I know Kim Parks and Recs also made known that we want to do something special for the golf course. and the community. You know, is that still a go with the new concessionaires? You know, my husband and I love that course. We know it's not in the best of condition. And we get it with all the flooding over the years and whatnot. But we want it to succeed. It's an icon in this community. It has been my entire life, and then some. And I pray that we can do something with it, because there are so many folks that rely on that course to get themselves out of the house. When the pandemic hit, obviously, a lot of folks were not able to get out. And when it first opened up, you can only have hand carts. That's a tough course if you're a senior, to walk that course with a hand cart.
The time is
And
up.
we've
The
talked to
time,
several people in the golf community.
okay, the
we
time is
know it's
up, but I'm
a
gonna
big
allow you to
time.
finish, I'm gonna allow you to go ahead and finish your final thought, please.
I'm sorry?
The time is up, but I'm gonna allow you to go ahead and finish your final thought. I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay. I was just going to say that we understand through multiple people in the golf community, we have several friends of ours, and they have said it's going to take a while to get golf carts, and I get that. But just remember, the senior community and our overall Dearborn Heights community, they need that course. And to have anything with a banquet and/or sports bar would be fantastic.
Okay.
Council
Thank
Chair.
you very much.
To respond to that, this is why it's so imperative that we get something done immediately. You mentioned about the grass being cut or the greens being taken care of. We wait another month. I mean, April 1st is when you put your first set of fertilizer on your lawn.
I did mine yesterday.
Yeah, and we can't wait no more. This is time sensitive. So let's not make this a political issue.
Okay. I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Anybody else on Zoom?
Yes, one more.
One more? Go ahead.
Before we
3
do that,
minutes.
Council,
Does anybody else want to answer any questions?
no, I just have a question. Is
For?
you
Oh,
or
okay.
anybody. Is Mr. Issa done presenting? Are we done?
Yeah, he's done presenting, but if he doesn't mind, since he's one of the presenters, to stay here just in case one of the audience members had a
And my
question.
next question is there anybody else presenting here today? Because I could have sworn there was another gentleman here.
They left.
So do we only have one person that bidded for this?
Yes.
So then
No,
do we
we had
just
4 bids.
automatically,
We had 4 bids.
We could pick
One
we could pick
taken
any
away.
4 we want,
Yeah.
but only one presented?
but we still can pick any one of the 4.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Any idea why they left?
I don't know. Okay.
So Mr. Issa's the only one, I'm just putting it out there.
We can pick any
That
one of the 4.
Mr. Issa's the only one that
Right.
presented.
Right, and
And I believe Mr. Mackey walked up here and he said he doesn't want it, and he's putting his blessings behind the man who put the second highest bid.
Right.
Or the first highest bid.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Saad, go ahead. You have, I'm sorry, I'm allowing an extra minute today, so you'll have 3 minutes.
Very generous.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good,
Doing good.
Good. This is Rasha Saad on Gully Road. I'm also joined with some Riverside parents. And Councilman Maydoun, thank you very much for addressing the issue at the golf course for Riverside students.
Absolutely.
Now, my question to you is, I know Mr. Issa is still there. Will he be willing to go to the board meeting on April 4th and also make sure that he is giving us permission, because we don't want him to end up, changing his mind later on if his business gets busy, There's a dismissal time and there's a drop-off time.
And so I want you to know, Ms. Saad, he was very, very adamant. His children go there. He wants to allow his wife to pick up his children, especially from that parking lot. And he said if he's awarded, which I would hope since he's the only person that's here, he said he would award that too. And you know what? If April 4th is the board meeting, you will catch me, Mr. Issa, there.
Council Chair.
I hope so too, because we're residents, we're paying taxes, and you know what? Regarding the bid, I don't think a lot of people knew about it. I think more and more residents should be more involved in addressing their issues as well and their concern. But if you guys are saying like it's kind of too late, you guys have to do what you have to do. I just want Mr. Issa to address his concern at the board meeting that he is given the Crestwood district. And will he be able to do another exit and entrance? That's the other question that I had, and thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Now, for full disclosure, Ms. Saad, no one has been picked as of yet, and the actual vote on that will be done by the city council on Thursday at 5:30 PM. It'll be via Zoom, and you'll have the link to that Zoom meeting from the website, and it'll be in person for those that want to show up in person at 5:30 PM at Riverside Middle School on Warren and Beach Daily. So the decision's not been made yet, so I can't put anybody on the spot and say, show up to the school board meeting on that date. If you'd like to be on Zoom or in person, whoever gets the bid, you're more than welcome to ask them.
Win or lose, I will make sure he's there.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Beatty, I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Roger.
Council Chair?
Yes,
Council
go
Chair?
ahead, Council Gary Miyake.
Again, it is not a lease. If Isa Brothers is given the nod, they would not necessarily have control over the property, namely the parking lot. Again, think of how it's done over at the airport. That's the type of model we're using. No one turns around and says to the airport authority that they don't have control over certain common areas. Thank you.
No problem. I mean, obviously, some residents may still possibly mention the wrong term, but as long as we all understand it's not. Thank you. Okay, anybody else waiting to speak?
Council
Madam
Chair,
Clerk?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
How many council members here are ready to vote on this on Thursday? Raise your hand.
I'm ready to vote on it.
Okay, so you're going to vote on something, a potential contract that you have no idea is what's in the
No,
contract?
time out.
you're not-
We're not
you're
voting
gonna
on the
let a contract.
contract. We're voting on a concessionaire to move forward with administration, negotiating the specifics of a contract, at
Right.
which point that contract will come back to us for a final vote. And again, I will repeat.
Can we see the contract before
Absolutely,
Thursday?
yeah, absolutely.
Before-
You're going to see it to
before
vote on
Thursday?
it. Absolutely.
No, not before Thursday.
Well, contract
No,
should
no,
be,
no,
it
there's
should,
no
it should be
contract
already
put-
written up. Just
time
fill in
out.
a couple of number blanks.
Councilman.
Right?
There's no contract that's put together as of yet because we have not
Why-
picked a
why
concessionaire. Let me finish. Based on a concessionaire that we select
Right.
on Thursday, based on the RFP proposal that they put together, so whether it's concessionaire A, B, or C, the contract will include some of those clauses possibly, and then they will negotiate some more terms of the contract in the best interest of the city through our corporation counselor, Gary Miyake.
We
So
should
there's no
already have-
contract on Thursday,
We should
no.
already have a draft of a contract. I mean,
No,
this-
no, no,
this-
no. There's no
we're-
draft.
We're the boss. We're the boss.
Councilman, you're not voting on a contract Thursday.
I know we're not, but we're.
But we will see a contract
You will
before,
see the contract when
By
it's
Thursday?
ready.
and then you
And
will vote on
approve it.
that.
It's no different than any other contract.
Then that's different, more delayed. Okay, we got to negotiate a contract here and there.
But that's precisely
Well,
why
you're
the
making it
RFP,
longer.
This is what a attorney, they should have Gary should already have a rough draft of this contract.
I'm sure
And
he's
it's
got
fill in the
something
numbers,
ideas.
fill in
There's-
this, fill in this. I mean, it should
So-
be almost
so
done.
having worked with contracts for, not all my life, but a good part of my life,
All your life.
okay, there is a lot of course, pre-written contracts, but every contract has to have the specifics put in and agreed upon by all parties, and that's what Gary Miyake will be putting together.
By the way, I also just want to say,
But it will not be on Thursday. It will not be on
All the specifics
Thursday.
are in this package, John.
I'm sorry?
All the specifics are in
All
the
all the initial specifics, but all that is a proposal. So in other words, let me say it to you a different way. That's a starting point. Any request for proposal that comes in and is selected is a starting point. It is not the end point.
and I just want to say, Councilman, I want you to know, I respect that you're being very adamant that you want to protect the city, and I see that. And I just don't want you to, I'm not getting upset, and I don't want anybody to think that all the councilman is doing is saying, hey, I want to make sure that I'm protecting Warren Valley, and that the city has adopted, and so I want you to know, I also will not agree on voting on something other than Thursday, because Thursday we're just choosing out of the four, but I want to see the contract, and I want some time on that contract before I just approve a contract. I agree with you.
Correct.
Well, I don't want to wait a month or 3 weeks.
No,
to
at
see
least
the
2
contract.
weeks of that contract.
2 weeks, that's still.
So
Okay, well-
let's keep in mind that Gary Miyake represents the city council and the mayor's / administration,
I don't
okay?
think he doesn't represent city council.
I'm sorry, yes, he does. He represents the city council and the mayor. That's who he works for.
No.
Now, with that being the case, well, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm just telling you, per the contract with him, that's who he represents.
Yeah.
With that being the case, he is totally focused, as is the administration, on getting this thing up and running ASAP.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to wait. We should have a
Nobody
contract
wants to
a
wait.
week from tonight at the next meeting. I mean,
Nobody wants to wait.
if we're going to push forward, let's push forward.
Well, don't forget, they're also going to negotiate.
So I can tell you this, it's also precisely why we made the voting meeting and we penciled it in last week for this coming Thursday, because time is of the essence. And I, as a council chair, understand the fact that time is of the essence. The administration understands that time is of the essence, and any vendor that takes this thing over understands time is of the essence. And I, for one, have had many calls already from different leagues saying, hey, I don't know, maybe we might go somewhere else. Amongst them, a major league, I can't get into, I talked to the guy again today. He said, hey, man, we're considering going somewhere else. I said, hold off. According to the mayor, this thing should be, if not up and running, at least going in a great direction by mid to late April, and you will be able to play golf on this golf course this coming summer.
Okay, I got a lot of people upset with me here because they're going, hey, it's taking too long. Well, you know what? No one's sacrificing their time more than I am right now. I mean, no one here has 5 children at home. No one out there has 5 school-age children out here. So I'm sacrificing more of my time than any of you here. Now, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you the fact. So when I'm sitting here and saying something, everybody's going, oh, Tom, you're going on and on. This is a multi-million-dollar project. If I say 1,000 things and one point is an important point, then it's worth it.
I agree.
If you don't want to sit here and to the end of the meeting, then you go home.
Well, Councilman, with due respect, as you've noticed, this show, and I'm just going to say it the way it is run by me as a council chair. And if you noticed, I have allowed every vendor that was supposed to speak to go up and speak. I've allowed every members of the audience to go up and speak and given them an extra minute or two. And I've allowed every council member to speak what was on their mind. So nobody's been stopped from speaking here, and nobody on my watch will ever be stopped from speaking. Everybody will have their opportunity, and I'm a big proponent, most importantly, to the residents and people who are active in our community to come up and speak. And sometimes Mr. Abdul Haq had a couple extra minutes because I know he is very active in the community, and I allowed him to speak. We don't always agree, but they will be allowed to speak. Nobody will be shut down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Councilman.
Anybody, I'm sorry, we had one more on.
Two more,
Oh,
and
two
then I
more.
have
Okay, so go ahead. Who's up next, Madam Clerk? Fatima, go ahead, please unmute.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good.
How are you?
Good. My name is Fatima Serini Beydoun. I live on Hass. I am a parent of children at Hillcrest as well at Riverside. I'm also part of the Hillcrest PTO, and I'm just piggybacking on what Rasha had said. No matter who gets this bid, I'm just asking you guys, please, to keep our children in mind.
I tell you,
and day out
I
without
and all
it
the
would be
council
a
members fully
catastrophe.
agree with that.
It's already a catastrophe. And I'm also just begging you to keep in mind, I understand there may be liquor involved. This is neighboring a school. Just please, please keep this in mind. No matter who wins this bid, make sure that our children are going to be safe, whether it's pickups, drop-offs, whoever's going to be a customer at the golf course. I'm just begging you guys to keep this all in mind.
Absolutely, we will. And I can tell you, not only, I know in this case I can speak on behalf of all the council members. Our students are definitely of top priority. I can speak on behalf of the mayor's administration. The students are of top priority, and I can speak most importantly, you got our school board members here, and I know almost every Crestwood school board member, and they would not be here unless they knew this is important to them also, and they're here to watch us and make sure this is on our list.
Council
So
Chair.
we got Najat Janoon here. I'll repeat again, and then we have Ms. Kaminsky here to make sure that we are keeping this
Council
on
Chair.
our radar. Go ahead,
Council Chair.
Councilman.
You know, what we're forgetting, and a lot of people are calling about this school issue, most of the school drop-offs and pickups are going to be mostly in the off-season anyway of golf. So the parking lot is not going to be full. I don't think it's going to hamper any operation whatsoever. You may have a month or two overlap, like
good point.
September and October, maybe at the very most sometime in November, but the parking lot's going to be empty. just about, unless it's a weekend where there's going to be a wedding or some sort of other event that the banquet, but I believe there's going to be enough parking there where it's not going to affect anybody from picking up or dropping off their children.
Good point.
So, you know, let's be realistic on this, and let's not beat a horse to death here.
But let's if you don't mind, our corporation counselor, Gary Miyake, if you could please include that as a part of your negotiations, please.
Thank you, that's all I'm
Yes,
asking.
I just wrote a note.
We're not trying to be anything. We're just parents that care very deeply about our children.
Absolutely.
And we are tax-paying citizens, and we did vote you into your chairs. So
Absolutely.
we're not beating anything.
Thank you, Faulkner.
sure. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Very
Gary,
welcome, thank you guys for your time.
You're welcome. Gary, you were saying something?
No, I just said I have written a note to myself
Beautiful.
with respect to a
Thank you.
special provision.
Thank you. Okay, who's next up, Madam Clerk?
One more, I just asked them to unmute. There
All right, we
we go.
got Hussein. If you could please unmute, go ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sam, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, Wayne County. I would like to clarify a couple of things for you guys. It was brought to my attention that Council Gary Miyake is not only the council who defends the mayor or the whole administration, the council. He represents the city as an entity. And we all have to remember almost about a year and a half ago, Gary Miyake technically worked the whole year for the city without being paid. And he still did his job and his due diligence, and he did not even stop. So we can trust this guy to draft the contract smoothly to protect the city and the golf course. However, I do urge you guys not to allow anybody to start work for the respect and to defend the city as an entity and to defend the investor who's going to come and spend his money in that golf course before that contract gets drafted.
Okay.
Second, I would like to ask the council chair, Mr. Abdullah, if possible. I know it's a freedom of speech. I know a lot of people want to go to the council meeting and talk. But honestly, people want to talk. If they don't have facts in their speech, we got to do something about it. With all respect, we had a resident who went to the council meeting about a month ago. That particular resident started cursing. There was kids in that meeting that was not appropriate at all. And I'm sorry, I really have to
And I
say
agree with that, and I've already made multiple statements on that will not be allowed, period.
that was not being allowed, and they always want to come back and bring in like unnecessary items. It's one simple item that took you guys 3 hours and a half. Yes, I understand you guys are elected officials, you guys have the duties and everything. 3.5 hours for one simple topic, that's too much time for you guys. That's all what I have to tell you, and thank you so much.
With due respect, Mr. Hussein, I totally understand and appreciate your comments, but I can tell you this, specifically on the Warren Valley Golf Course, I want to make sure I give it ample time for A, all residents to be able to speak their minds, B, all council members to speak their minds, or anybody else that's presenting to speak their minds, because this is too important of an issue for me to rush it through. Way too important of an issue. And I, for one, can speak on my behalf, want to make sure that I heard everything from everybody so I can make the right decision with the right vendor. But I do respect your opinion. I do understand your opinion. And when it's something that's not of importance, I totally agree. But on something like the Warren Valley Golf Course, 254 acres of land in the middle of our city, I, for one, want to make sure that everybody's heard, including yourself, including anybody else that wants to speak. They will be heard. And as long as I'm a council chair, people will be heard. And whether I agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. They will be heard. That's something that's very important to me.
I totally agree with you, and I totally respect your opinion, but just like, once again, a resident came up, oh, not a lot of people know about it. It's like, okay, if you don't have access to BidNet, that means you don't know what the hell you're doing. That means you cannot afford to be in that process. You're completely going to get disqualified from that process, period.
Yeah, I see that point. I understand. And keep in mind, at the same time, there was also comments that, well, I'll keep it no comment.
I'll just say, I just want to add one more thing. I know, and I appreciate Gary very much, but when he worked for those times where he wasn't being paid, I believe at the end,
He was paid.
he was compensated.
Yes.
if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
was compensated at the end, but my point was, he did not even stop to serve the city, and he kept doing his job
He
without
definitely
even
did.
any
That's why I respect him, and that's why he's our corporation counsel today.
Correct.
Same as you. Thank you so much, guys. I yield my time.
Thank you, Hussein.
Thank you.
Anybody else with comments, Madam Clerk?
Just me?
Oh, Madam
Wow.
Clerk, absolutely.
Happy birthday.
Go ahead.
We don't have time.
Real quick, I would just respectfully ask that the administration provide us with the information for Thursday's meeting by noon tomorrow, because we do have to get that notice out, and it's also a council preparation week, so our council secretaries,
Oh,
as you
that's
know,
true.
council chair is very busy
Sure.
preparing for next Tuesday's.
Absolutely. So what the clerk is referencing, there's a lot of things that are logistics stuff that go into effect, whether it's from administration, whether it's from the chief of staff, giving stuff to the clerks, whether it's the mayor, and then they all have to go through the clerk's office and then come back to me as a council chair. I have to look at everything, approve everything, and then they start sending the agenda out to all the council members, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of timelines, so that's what she's referencing there, and I'm sure the administration will do everything within their powers to make sure it's on there. Is there something, I'm just thinking out loud here. I mean, is there anything, Mr. Mayor, over and above and beyond the bids that would need to go on there?
No, I need to talk to Mr. Miyake after this meeting.
From legalese standpoint?
For verbiage to put on the agenda for tomorrow. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sorry, for Thursday.
Sure, I appreciate that. But either way, though, if you could do that ASAP, just to make sure, because I do understand on the clerk's end, they have to also prepare our agenda packets ASAP and get those out, pretty much by the same date, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman, go ahead.
I have a request. Before we vote on Thursday, do you think we can ask the administration or Mr. Miyake to have a time frame on negotiation for the contract? Because what if there was no agreement between the administration and the bid winner, for example?
So in general, I could answer that for you. In general, let's just hypothetically pretend that they couldn't come to an agreement, just for whatever reason. It'd go right back to administration, and administration would probably either put it out for bids again, or we, as a council member, council members, we could decide to go possibly with a different company.
So that's what I'm saying. Can we put a time frame for negotiation instead of going?
Mr. Miyake?
Can we do that?
My recommendation would be that that be included in the mayor's cover letter for the Thursday meeting, to come back with a proposed contract by a certain time or another recommendation by a certain time, as this council would see fit. And he and I can stay on the Zoom meeting after the regular meeting ends, just so that we can speak about that if that's agreeable to the mayor.
I can call you offline, Mr. Miyake. I don't want to, there's a lot
Okay,
of people in here.
I'll have to retrieve my
Let's do
phone.
that. Yeah, it's best to do that separately. Thank
Council
you.
Chair, motion
Councilwoman, go ahead.
to adjourn.
Well, hold on one second, let's
No.
make sure. Was there anybody else, anything else, Madam Clerk?
We don't need a motion, it's a study
Oh, good.
session.
Right,
All right.
It's up to chair.
sure. Anything else?
I
All
don't
right.
see any hands up.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you Thursday.